You've heard us talk about them. They're in, and they're on the website.
Absolutely. Our brand new America's Diesel podcast, branded bills, badass, flex fit, performance material, sweat stain resistant. It literally feels like it cools your head.
I don't know how
amazing.
that's possible, but somehow it is. Yeah, you can rock it. You know, I'm more of a flat bill kind of guy. You can do that. You can curve it. For all you taco holder guys, you can even throw that in there.
Yeah.
And then snap back with a little bit of the flex fit.
Yeah.
Big head approved, small head approved.
And it's extremely comfortable. I almost guarantee, I say almost guarantee. No, I guarantee this is the most comfortable hat you will ever wear. And the logo, rubber. Awesome.
Yeah.
Came out great.
Super detailed rubber on there, so it's never going to fade on you. If you want to get one of these in your hands, they are $50, shipped to the lower 48, plus tax, if applicable in your state. Just go on the dieselpowerproducts.com, search hat, look for the fantastic Jam and Eagle logo, and pick yourself up some before they're out of stock.
Yeah.
You're listening to America's Diesel Podcast. It's not a pancake. It's my wife.
Enough alone.
And now the episode has started. That's how you got to start things, everything like that.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you'll notice there's a third voice on this mic. It's not Corey. It's Lenny Reed, Dynomite Diesel Products, 208-209-3214.
Not give my cell phone number. No, please don't.
Now,
Got his address actually right here.
I listened to your intros and outros so many times I really wanted to do it, but then I heard your voice on the microphone just now. I'm like, I can't do it.
Yeah. No, don't. I will send a man to your house. He'll be dressed in white and he'll be carrying a fish. He will lay it on your front porch.
That's how
that
you
is
know
your
it's
last day.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in this episode. We do obviously have a special guest on here, and we're going to get talking to him about some really interesting stuff. But first, we got to get the intro out of the way. Thanks for tuning in to America's Diesel Podcast, brought to you by Diesel Power Products, and today by freaking Lenny Reed from Dynomite Diesel Products, 208-209-3214. How many times do you think I can slip that in this episode?
Two's good.
Yeah.
Two's good? All right.
Two's good.
Go for three? Maybe
Nobody actually uses the phone anymore.
I know.
It's people my age that get frustrated when you can't call somebody. I just want to buy tires. I want to call somebody.
Yeah.
Nope, you can't do that.
Yeah.
See one of our dealers. Oh, just kidding. They're all closed.
Yeah.
I can't buy your tires. No, you can't.
Make sure to check us out on Google Play, SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can find us by searching America's Diesel Podcast. Also, make sure and check out our social medias. You can find us again by searching America's Diesel Podcast. We are trying to pump up our Instagram numbers. We do go live on there just about every Wednesday, right around 5 p.m. Pacific time. Come have a beer with the boys. That's usually me and Tyler. Unfortunately, Lenny won't be there all the time because as much as I do want him to be within a 4-foot radius of me all day, every day, it just doesn't happen. Sad days. Nothing? You got nothing for that one? Damn, okay. It's hard crowd. All right.
I was trying not to laugh.
Tyler, reviews.
Oh, yeah. Let's keep those reviews coming in. We are consistently staying in the top 20 of all automotive podcasts, which we thank you guys very much. Keep those reviews coming in so we can keep moving up. It'll be the #1 rated diesel podcast in all podcast land. Any platform that you listen to this podcast on, screenshot your 5-star review, send it to podcast@dieselpowerproducts.com. Make sure you include a picture of your truck and an address that we can send a decal to. It looks just like the logo on my sick-ass hat.
And my shirt today.
And your shirt, and our cups.
And my cup.
Yeah.
Is my cup?
My cup.
Your cup.
Yep.
They made me drink out of this cup today because, well, they didn't want me to.
We didn't want to get sued.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I got that drink in my cup.
But I needed the caffeine, so here we are.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we can refill that with other stuff later. Don't worry about that. We got you covered.
Got it.
If you need parts for your diesel pickup truck, make sure and check out dieselpowerproducts.com. You can find a wide selection of Dynomite products on there as well. If you see that quick ship logo, it's verified, in stock, ready to rock. Pull the trigger. If you have any questions, make sure and call one of our knowledgeable sales technicians. They're on the phones 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time, Monday through Friday. Make sure you tell them that if you are a podcast listener, tell them that. You don't get anything special except special attention from me. No monetary discount. Just a high five and maybe some shit talking in our group. By the way, we do have a Facebook group. You can find us on there by searching America's Diesel Podcast, the group. A lot of shit talking on there. It's a good time. Good information, good shit talking.
Yeah.
Lenny's not in it, I don't
That's
think.
it.
I tagged you in there, but I know you're not in it.
I'm not in it.
Are we going to talk about trucks today?
Yeah, I know.
That's the hard part. You got to get through the intro, right? Lastly, if you are purchasing parts for your diesel pickup truck and you're not using dieselpowerproducts.com, I do want to know why. Send me an email, good, bad, happy, or sad. Let's freaking do this.
Golly.
Okay, Lenny. I do have somewhat of a list that we want to talk about. Okay, I know this.
I'm going to change it.
He's got a Venn diagram he actually made up.
Add a chart, in triplicate, refined it, exported, brought it back, review, all that kind of good stuff.
Before I crush your list, you do realize this is 2022.
Yes.
Let's get, okay, just want to make sure.
We're going to get to the really good stuff after this just because my 7-3 brethren will not let me go if I don't ask you some 7-3 questions. For those of you that are a 5'9" common rail person or just not retarded like all of us 7'3 guys, we do have some good information and a lot of cool stuff coming up later in the episode. If you want to skip the 7'3 stuff, I freaking totally understand. Like, I get it. But I know, like, a lot of the guys listening to this are 7'3 guys. So, God, you guys don't watch this, but the look he's giving me right now is like, it's like, man.
I love it when a guy's like, the 7.3 is the best power stroke ever made. And I think to myself, like, say that to yourself slower. It's 444 cubic inches, and it came out with 200 horsepower. They should live forever.
No doubt.
Like, there should be nothing more reliable on this planet than something that makes like 1/2 of a horsepower per cubic inch.
Yeah. How do you have so many cubic inches and so little horsepower?
Yeah, like your 7.3 liter, like the volumetric efficiency of that, even with turbo, is less than a Briggs & Stratton 3.5 horsepower engine.
Oh, this is going to be my favorite podcast.
I could do this shit for hours.
It's astonishing. It's actually a
with
mechanical...
every truck. Like, you bring up like a common rail, you can bring up like a 12 up or VE. Yeah. I will crack jokes about it forever because I've listened to every single person on the planet call me up and be like, bro, here's what my plan is. And I'm like, yeah, that was a good one. Nope. Yeah. Every truck, name one.
Yeah.
Oh, let's go 600 power strokes.
Yeah.
That thing rips. They make good power. I actually saw an advertisement today saying that the new power strokes come out 500 horsepower and 1,200 pound-feet of torque.
Oh, yeah. 40,000 pounds towing.
That's going to be wicked. Except for one thing. The same with the Cummins. They say, okay, well, this thing makes like all of this power, but it's at an engine RPM that with your transmission being so good, you'll never actually get to feel that torque. Because every time you like get down on the gas pedal, it downshifts, and it gets out of that torque band anyway, and that's how things live.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't be so stoked about like how much power they make anymore. We should be stoked about how good the trannies finally got.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Nobody's ever been like, dude, my transmission, life changing. But if Ford, Chevy, and Dodge actually like decided to like really change the world, they could just start selling all of their cool transmissions that we have today
to
put them in old junk, and all of our old junk would work better.
Yeah,
it's true.
Like the 3/4 shift on a 4-speed is like 1,000 RPMs. Like,
yeah. Well, someone needs to talk to Ram because they need to get their shit together with transmissions. Because
step one,
get rid of the 68 RFE.
Why? Like that thing. I mean, basically,
it shifts like a schizophrenic.
Some of them are decent. Some of them are decent. Like all of mine actually work pretty good, but I don't really get into the whole like modifying and tuning and. I just throw injectors in and get it to run right. And then
I don't know. I haven't done anything to my truck, and there's sometimes I'm driving that thing, I'm just like, but why? Like, why are you in this gear right now? You should have downshifted like 1,000 feet ago. Then you got to like really lay in it, and then it finally shifts. Then you're at the top of the hill, and then it upshifts. Like it's like, what the hell are you doing? Like, keep me in the power.
How many miles are on the transmission fluid in it?
30,000.
You should sell that truck and give it to somebody that appreciates it.
What? It's like 60,000 is the...
No. I
have all the stuff to do it.
I disagree heartily. Like,
all right.
Wholeheartedly. Like every one of them trucks, especially guys that tow. And you were my camping neighbor last weekend.
Yes, I know.
So I know that you tow.
Yeah.
And now I know how hard you drive the truck because you just told me that. So you should be changing fluid like every 25K.
Okay, well, I have to say, I took it in because at about like 10,000 miles, it threw a torque converter code as I was leaving town, and I made the dealership go and check it out, and a week later, they changed the fluid. So it doesn't actually have 30,000 on the fluid. So
did they?
Oh, they did. They did.
Are you sure?
Yeah, 100%. Because I knew the guy that was working on it. So he
did they
me.
change the? I don't know. Like I would.
They were gonna give me another valve body. I don't know why, because I had a torque converter code. So but they're like, oh, it's a valve body. I'm like, sweet.
It usually is.
They gave me a rental car, and then they were like, oh, we just dumped the fluid and put new fluid in it, and we can't actually warranty out the valve body, so it's yours now. So like,
Did they
shit.
offer you one of those 700 horsepower caravan things?
Hell no. I wish they did. I got a freaking V6 Cherokee, which I rallied the piss out of.
Yeah,
It was
for sure.
great.
That caravan 700 horsepower thing, if that ever actually did come to fruition,
Oh my God.
I would buy that.
Oh, 100%. I would buy that. And I hate Grand Caravans.
I'd probably get my vasectomy reversed so I could be the coolest dad in the line at school.
Just like 12 kids, just loaded up.
Just staged, boosted launches right there in the school buses.
It'd be hilarious if they kept it front wheel drive too.
At 700 horsepower, that'd be all will.
I would just do the front wheel drive burnouts everywhere. Just
Yep.
just torque steer like a motherfucker. That'd be great.
That would be a blast.
Oh yeah.
Well, so 68's definitely a weak link.
Yeah. I'm not a fan.
No, I'm with you.
But
Mine's
I knew that
good.
going into it, and it was either that or an Aisin. But I didn't even have an option for an Aisin because it was the only truck they had there.
And they're super expensive too.
Yeah.
They're durable. Like I've had 3 or 4 of them things, and 0 problems.
Yeah.
They've been durable.
Well, and you can like I don't drive that truck hard, Ben. You know that.
No, you pop out around.
I do. I mean, I'm not hard on it.
It's your story. I'm not your dad or your wife.
It was funny. I don't know if I told you this when we pulled up to that campsite, and I'm like, "Who's this motherfucker side by side? He's gonna have to move his shit."
Oh, no, it was super in the way.
It wasn't, but I pulled in there and I see him pop out of the trailer. I'm like, "No shit, fucking Lenny!" Like, all right, this is gonna be a good weekend.
And then his hot wife gets out, and I'm like, "Huh? Wonder if she's blind."
Ha! No, she's not. 20/20 vision.
Low standards.
Fuck.
Horrible
I'm just
self-esteem.
really funny. Or I'm freaking packing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got that hammer.
Everybody in Idaho does that.
Long bed,
We all
long
pack.
bed, long dick.
Yeah.
That's what she says.
All of a sudden, I'm like, yeah. I feel like I'm on ABC News right now. Like nothing here is true.
Yeah.
Oh, Don, you're a little controversial. You're talking about illegal immigration. I said it's illegal.
These are the facts.
These are the facts. These are the facts.
That actually happened.
So I think it's safe to say that Lenny's basically told me to fuck off at 7.3 stuff.
Yeah.
So there's your answer, 7.3 fans.
I just feel like we should spend our moments, precious few moments left on this planet. People die every day.
This is going great.
Precious few moments that we have left on this planet. We should talk about some stuff that's actually relevant and being modified and new and changed. Like in the 7.3 world, what's new? Sleeves. Because the electrolysis ate all the blocks, so every time you rebuild one, you've got to shove a sleeve in 2 to 4 holes. So the last 3 that I ever rebuilt, we shoved 8 sleeves in there. That makes no sense. Let that thing die.
Let it die.
That's like our current president. Like that poor fella, he's like a coat hanger.
Yeah, just-
But they're keeping him propped up. He's not made a decision yet.
that's straight up Adderall injections right there.
I guarantee, when he wets his pants, he's like, who did that?
What I can do? The pants.
What's her name? Tipper? What's his wife's name? Tipper?
It's Doctor
Doctor.
Jill.
PhD or
Is it
MD?
Jill,
Dr.
yeah.
Jill
Obviously
Biden.
not
Yeah.
MD.
He's sort of
Yeah.
like, Jill.
She's a community college teacher. All right, she's a doctor.
The ghost wet my pants again.
I pooped my pants. Jill, Nancy messed my pants.
Okay, well, me and Lenny were on the dyno yesterday.
Lenny and I. Lenny,
Lenny-
proper English, Lenny
yeah.
and I.
I had 7.3 guys, so
Matt.
yeah, that's it. Lenny and I were on the dyno yesterday, and we were dynoing.
But it was a bunch of us. It was basically
it
it was.
It was Ryan, Mitch, Matt, and Lenny in the truck,
And then,
and Mike at Calibrated Power, and
Yeah.
Paul at Calibrated Power.
yeah.
And I'm guessing anybody else within earshot of them at Calibrated Power, because I'm sure they were screaming, trying to make sense of what was going on, and possibly fighting with thin air, just like, this doesn't make sense!
I was there in spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were. We had a picture of you there.
Perfect. Perfect.
As he shakes his head.
Yeah.
So you first talk about the truck formerly known as COVID Cummins, and we haven't released the name of that truck yet. It doesn't really matter, but it's not COVID Cummins anymore.
It's not?
No.
That's what I put it in all the dyno runs as.
That's fine. It's fine.
I think Josh said he's sick and tired of saying COVID, so they changed it.
Yeah,
Communication on every project is key for proper success.
it is. Believe it or not, this project probably has the most communication we've ever had on a project before.
Oh, 100%.
It's turning out really good, though.
Yeah. So it is a fairly built truck, I would say. Maybe not so much built in Lenny's world because he gets really big into the internals and stuff like that. But as far as like, it's got a cam, got some Hamilton valve train stuff in there, 188, 220 cam on there, BD compounds, it's got 61 with 76, BD intake competition manifold, fleece 10 mil pump, Dynomite, 120 horse injectors, fleece intake pump, for as far as the lift pump goes.
I think that's got a DDP 12 on it, though.
Does it?
I'm pretty sure it's one of ours.
I don't remember for sure.
I guarantee it is, because yesterday we were crushing 700, and that pump still had like a lot left in it.
Okay, so that's a 12 mil.
And yeah, so it is.
So
12.
DDP 12 mil.
Yep.
Okay. What else am I missing on there?
As
No,
far as engine wise, that's pretty much it. Then
yeah.
a bunch of suspension.
Big boy BD transmission in there. Big boy thick shaft, thick boy freaking tap shifter.
Yep.
That in there. Then the suspension goes. It's Carly unchained.
The 3-inch long arm.
Yeah, 3-inch long arm. Just basically just a whole big bag of fuck you. 38s on is it 17s?
Yes.
Yep. 430 nitro gears in there.
Yep.
There's the long short of it right there. And the cool thing that happened yesterday for me personally, obviously the truck is the star of the show here, and Lenny's the genius behind, and his team, the genius behind doing a lot of stuff like that. Team. And it was really cool because the video that we actually have on the screen right here is going to be coming out on our YouTube channel pretty soon here. Probably by the time you listen to this, it's already going to be coming out because we're final stages of editing it. But I was fortunate enough to go to Dynomite and basically walk through building a nozzle and testing machines and all this other rad shit that I was sure that I fairly had comprehended when I was there, but seeing it in practice yesterday, just light bulbs, freaking Christmas tree in my head.
Yeah.
And the
amount of change since the last time that we built your 7.3s to, I mean, when we built your 7.3s, the Huey stand was actually in the main injector shop.
Yeah.
And now there's no room for it, so we like booted that thing to the outside shop.
Yeah, as you should.
There's we're not really that big on, Huey stuff, so it just took up space. We needed the electricity for the other stands, and now that we've got so many common rails going out, we just had to have that thing in a different spot. So, but yeah, I mean, there's technology-wise, since you were there with those, and then you come back to the shop, we started you on the very far left and worked you to the right, just like a nozzle would. Like, there's a lot that you got to see that very few people in the USA will ever see, and it's unfortunate that we don't do some sort of a video just to show people kind of what a blank starts as and every single step along the way. I mean, that's something we really want to do. It's just a matter of like priorities and times, I guess.
Right.
So, but you got to see that and then finally get to see them in the truck and then wrap your mind around what calibration and tuning can look like and the things that we're doing differently. Like you got to see like front row center, 50-yard line, all of it. That
Totally.
was.
And the machine at the far right where the 7.3 stand used to be.
Yes.
That thing, like, it made sense, but that thing makes way more sense to me now. And as far as like, yeah, I mean, you've got the machine, the one that puts the media through it to
The old one or the new one?
the new one.
The new one's the abrasive flow machine.
But and I get every machine is important, but I love the fact that you are able to watch the flow per time as far as injector commanded open and closed. That is what yesterday, like, light bulbs went off. Like, I understood it. I saw the curves when we were there building them.
Yeah.
But actually being able to hear it, and because like you were spouting off numbers and we're talking about 1,000 and 1050 as far as like duration goes,
Right.
And to hear like what other people are running for duration on injectors, no wonder your injectors are doing what they're doing. Like it's a totally different ballgame.
Yesterday morning, I woke up probably 3 a.m. and I was like, oh, in order for Calibrated to actually help us, they have to actually know where to start, right? And me knowing where the injector was going to pump, I was like, well, we're going to need, give me like 200 MPa and 1,000 microseconds. Well, I kind of got shot down on the MPA because it's stock rail pressure sensor. So we were stuck where we were, which is like 175 MPA. And then the guys that calibrated were like, nah, I guess we'll bring it down to 1,000. And then I asked candidly, I'm like, so where'd you have it set up already? And he was like, well, 2,500. And, Matt just about choked. And 2,500 microseconds of on time was the hot tune. And then down to 1,700, which was still way too much. That's 150 microseconds less than stock. But the size of the injector and the way the injector can actually contribute fuel as fast as it can do it, we just won't need that much injector on time. Mm-hmm. Since piston goes up, goes boom, and piston goes down, the shorter that we can keep that injection event, the less wasted energy you have during that combustion process, and the less exhaust gas temperature you end up with going by the pyrometer.
And that's what really made sense to me yesterday.
Yeah.
Being able to have a very exact, precise injection event with a larger injector netting more power than stock with not a lot of duration.
3 times more power than stock.
Yeah.
With 850 microseconds less.
For those of you listening, if you've never heard of microseconds or all that kind of stuff, I highly recommend it's not something you're going to grasp right away. Like, I consider myself a fairly quick learning person, especially when it comes to numbers, graphs, calibrations, and stuff like that. And even then, it took me until basically yesterday at the dyno to really put it all together. I'm a very hands-on person, putting it all together. I can read it in a textbook all day. Even when I was in school, you can read a textbook all day. Right. You go to lab, and all of a sudden, bing, 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 bing.
Light bulbs.
Oh, finally.
Yeah.
I got it now.
Yeah.
Sick. But that's what happened yesterday. So I highly recommend you watch the videos that are going to be coming out here. We've got our video we did with Dynomite at their facility as far as the nozzle walkthrough. And these are long-form videos. So there's sit down, get your coffee, and listen. Maybe repeat some parts. We're also going to have, obviously, this podcast. We have the video of the condensed version of the dyno yesterday. And then Dynomite is also going to be coming out with a dyno video, which is going to explain a lot of how the dyno works and a lot of the numbers that get spit out and the units that get spit out.
Yep.
And that is also going to be a fairly longer form video. So our goal here is to, with Dynomite, educate all of you guys on why it's good.
Yeah.
And then realize that everybody else sucks.
Well, and you got to see true actual custom tuning. Because, a lot of stores will just sell you an EFI line and be like, oh, it's custom tuning. Well, it's not. It is and it isn't, at the same time. But, what you got to see was, true. That's how custom tuning should be done. A truck on a dyno with, Dynomite knowing what their products will do. And then, a guy on the other end that knows how to tune it to make everything work together. And you saw those two things come together and make beautiful, beautiful horsepower babies.
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing yesterday. I told you, I'm like, look, man, this whole dyno thing, it's a 3-day process.
Yeah.
And you and I, we were lucky enough to get our number very, very rapidly. So we were, 650, 660, 670, first hit.
Yeah, well, before we even tried one of their updated tunes, we're just using what they had given us before. It was like a 550 or something like that. That was the very, very first one. That was before Mike even had sent us a re-updated.
Okay.
But then we hovered at the 650, 685 mark.
Yep.
For quite a while.
And that was, Mike and I have never worked on a project together. So I'm like, hey man, just give me stock timing map. And he did, but I'm not a calibrator, so I don't understand all of it, right? I've worked with plenty of guys and I know our lingo. With him, when I said stock, I meant stock to me is what I'm used to with all the guys that I've worked with in the past. It's just, not crazy timing. We keep the injection event short, but his version of stock was actually stock. So at 2,700 RPM, where it used to be, I think he said 15 degrees timing, and then it chops back to I think he said 8. And I was like, whoa, that ain't much upstairs, to lose timing like that.
Yeah.
But I see why Cummins and those guys be doing that, because right after that, 3,200 RPM, those things are going to run out of steam. So they're just trimming the steam off instead of just hard shutting it off. So I learned that the factory timing map isn't what I was after at all. I was wanting that more linear curve on the way up. But I just wanted to make sure that we didn't get carried away with it. Like I didn't want, 25, 30 degrees timing, nothing crazy, because with 1,000 injection or 1,000 microseconds, you don't need a lot of advance. Like if you're a 90-10 split, basically 90% in by top dead center, 10% chase. So, the fuel, as piston's going up, you're 90% in by the time it hits TDC. And then at TDC, you're 10% after that, and that's it. You're done. So with 1,000 microseconds, your advance doesn't have to be that much at 3,000 RPM. So today, yesterday we made our number. Hip, hip, hooray. It was great. It was a great mood.
I was backslapping high five, especially, and we're going to talk about the big thing is how clean it was.
Well, and the EGTs were just astonishingly low.
300 lower in stock.
Yeah.
Making
that was
nearly triple the horsepower.
That is astonishing to
and
me.
Also with the opacity meter, I believe cleaner than stock.
Probably. If you had a truck with a dirty set of stock injectors, it would definitely be dirtier than that. Yeah.
Which you have shown us on with some of those stock nozzles that when we were at your shop. Like it is crazy how they could fuck up.
Yeah.
Like put the holes in the wrong
got
spot.
the green check mark.
Yeah,
It's like,
missing a hole. One was missing a hole altogether, and then one was like way off, and like it had like a lazy eye.
Yeah.
Like it was just way off, looking into the distance. Like it
And
was
those
wild.
are, OEM,
Out of the box.
brand new parts, just, fantastic. Already been tested, supposedly.
Yeah.
So, but the supply chain's been changed a lot. Like they're not going to try and blame any single person or whatever, but with supply chain issues and, everybody everywhere is looking for employees because so many of them are just vanished. And I believe that happens in every country right now. So back to us. Like yesterday, we made our number, and I'm like, all right, cool. We're going to pull off dyno. Tomorrow, I'm going to work on drivability. So today, I get a hold of Calibrated again, start working with them on drivability, changing timing maps, changing pressure. We actually cranked it up to 195 today, and it's even cleaner today, and it's got more throttle response today than it did yesterday. But these drivability things, if you drove the 700 horsepower that we drove yesterday, I was almost yawning. It was boring, and it was just such a linear pull, right? Like you stayed in it, and it was and the speed limiter, the speedometer was going fast, and things were happening, but it felt almost like, I picture like a Tesla if you could just turn it on to a rheostat, just slowly, very smooth, and just takes off. It wasn't fun or violent. Like it wouldn't kick tires free. It was nothing exciting. And on a stock motor with stock rods, that's probably not a bad spot. But today I wanted to put some violence in it. So like if you got down on it, like 38's like help. I was, shooting for that more today.
Yeah.
So I think we probably went through 5 different revisions of drivability stuff today. And finally I'm like, look, I'm done. It's kind of like when you go to smell like women's perfume after like the 30th bottle, you're just like, I'd buy any of them. They all taste the same. They all smell the same. I don't care. Today I felt that way driving that truck. I was like, man, I got rid of all the pinging and all the rattling. There was none. Drivability is better than it was this morning, but I'm still not like, woohoo, this is going to be exciting. And ultimately, like for you guys to be able to buy parts from us, sell parts, and get a calibration, and all you've got to do is get a hold of Calibrated and go, hey, it's, this is for a Dynomite set of 120s. Here's the turbo. And those guys just go cut, copy, print. Once that file is perfect, then ultimately everybody's going to get a custom tuned file because we've done that to a stock motor. So as long as your consumer's got a stock motor and they haven't altered compression or done something crazy, then this file is going to be so much closer to custom tuned for their truck than anything that's ever been custom tuned for them before. Just drivability, overall runnability. I don't care about the number anymore. Anybody can make almost whatever number they want. But drivability to me is more important because a good driving vehicle is a long-lasting vehicle.
Yeah, 100%. So with the tuning and like with your injector specifically, what do you? And I know we talked about this before on another video, but just for this, like, what are you doing differently to your injectors that is negating them to kind of change what they're doing with their tuning to make it work with your stuff?
Okay, so let's just say that that you live in a castle, like on a mountaintop, right?
Fuck yeah.
It's awesome. It's awesome. You got 56 bedrooms and you got, 13, groundskeepers. It's an awesome place, right? And that's cool. But if you want to, be oceanfront property, you can remodel the castle. You can do whatever you want to the castle, and it's still going to be awesome. But it's still never going to be oceanfront property.
Right.
Now, if I take a factory part and I re-EDM it, then it's still never going to be something that wasn't already somebody else's, like, geography.
Yeah.
So if it was a 5-hole and it used to have a 7.5 thou hole, my 5 holes after I chase them are going to be at least 9 thou. That's a big hole. A 5x9 with some AFM or extrude hone run through it is a big hole. Now, let's just say that I go and I find an 8-hole nozzle from a different application, but it bolts to our 5.9 body. Well, those things were only, they were 8 by like 5.7, maybe 6 thou. And I shove a 5.7 piece of wire through there, and I make that thing about 1.5 thou bigger. That's a huge jump in percentage over.
Yeah.
So you just don't get custom tunability like we do. Like, we start with a blank, and I can pick a wire from the smallest stuff we have is 2,007/10. So much smaller than all of our hair. Like, we're getting thin anyways.
Yeah.
But the hair diameter is still about 3.2. So we've got wire that's smaller than a human hair, and we can shove that through a nozzle and make the most accurate hole you've ever seen in your life. So when we go from 2,007/10, we jump up to like 3 thou. And then I got 3 thou 1/10, 3 thou 2/10. And it basically goes like that, clear up to probably 9-ish. And then after that, we go like 9, 9.5, 10, 10.5. So every 0.5 thousandths, we go in increments. Because by the time you get to that size, you're getting to stuff that's got big motors, big turbos. It's only a race vehicle. And as long as it does its job, then the custom tuning is mandatory and required to make all that really big stuff, run. Yeah. But drivability, if we get a hole, let's just say we just EDM something, we use a 5.2 wire, and it leaves us with about a 6.4 hole. I run some AFM through it because AFM would be preferred at that size. By the time I get the proper K factor in there, that thing's going to flow X amount of liters per minute. And a lot of people go, oh, what's liter per minute? It's a measurement of, it's a unit of flow that we've always used in air. When we had the AFM built, we sent the airflow meter out. They basically, I asked them to change the format in which the AFM also flows the nozzle as it's honing the nozzle. And I wanted it to read liters per minute. And they were like, yeah, it took us 4 hours and we got that done. Hi, buddy. We got people in the background, sorry. So, then once we get it to X amount of liters per minute, we put it on the injector, and if it pumps too much or not enough, then we have to change the wire diameter. So if I have to change the wire diameter by 1 or 2/10 of a thou, and then recreate the K factor and do all that stuff, life's good because I've got those options. Right. So with like the stuff that we threw in your truck yesterday, that's a pretty stamped recipe for us. 6-hole, 124 degree out of a blank. Nobody else has a 6-hole. And let's just say that you wanted to put a 6.7 pickup truck motor in that truck, then we would use a 5.9 body, but I would burn that at 146 degree spray angle, which would be custom and perfect for that original application. And that's something that the other guys just can't do yet. Like they're going to use a nozzle that's close, going to be like 143 degrees, but not 146. Now in a mechanical injection, that wouldn't be such a big deal to be 1.5 degrees off per side. But with common rail and having multiple injection events happening during each combustion process, it's the make it or break it of fuel economy, drivability. Will it still make power on a dyno? Yes. But I don't really care about that. I just told you, like, anybody can make power now. So drivability for me is key. And with, a brand new truck being $100,000 these days, trying to make a $10,000 or a $15,000 truck that you just bought used drive as good as possible so it matches the drivability of a $70,000 or $80,000 or $90,000 truck is pretty cool.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people are headed right now. I mean, I know that's where I am. I'm not trying to ask for the world, but like that's the idea. Like
you got a 7.3, bro. That's not going to happen.
I know.
7.3.
444 cubic inches of
yeah.
Imagine how many Cummins you could have just making that 1 hour truck
Yeah, right. No joke.
I don't know if you could hear that, but I'm not going to repeat it.
I will.
That was another Cummins guy.
Go ahead.
No, it's good. I'm sure there's more coming.
Oh, yeah.
It's all, yeah. I mean, we can go on jokes.
I know. I got.
Poor Ben.
He's just talking shit.
Yeah.
There's going to be a bunch of 7-3 guys out there with, like, signs. We hate you.
Yeah.
We hate.
They actually
don't talk
take
shit
it really
about us.
well.
I was gonna say they probably won't have signs because they don't know how to read.
All right.
All right, for the most part.
They're actually, I mean, they are pretty good trucks. They're not bad. Yesterday, you told me that you fell in love with the old IDI that I had out there. It's a plow truck. It has a snow plow on it. It's got 60,000 miles on it because for those of you that don't remember 1989 Ford trucks,
They suck.
they drove like garbage, and there's no reason to drive one on the road, period. You put a plow on it, you just run it around the yard.
They can't tow.
If I go
have
out
no
and give off
power.
the impression that I fell in love with it, I'm very sorry.
Oh, yeah.
But what I was trying to get out there is like, and it was shocking to me of there is
That I had a Ford in my yard?
well that. First off, I saw brick nose and I was like, Lenny, you dirty dog. You holding out on me, man? You talking
yeah.
a whole bunch of shit and all of a sudden, hey, look at that brick nose over there.
Yeah, but it's covered by a snowplow.
Yeah. Which is fine.
That's what makes
it's
it
good
cooler.
for. Yeah. All 69 horsepower.
Yeah.
Snowplow.
All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Naturally
It's not even the-
aspirated.
It's not even the horsepower that makes it plow good. It's just the sheer weight of
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And the momentum you build up.
Like, I am positive I'll never break an axle in that truck.
Yeah.
It's not because it's really over-axled.
No.
You just can't make enough power to do it.
Thing
Yeah.
couldn't pull a string out of a cat's ass.
But what I was shocked by, and this is me and Josh had this conversation because he found a couple of them too. There are some websites and some companies out there that are coming out with very specialized IDI performance parts that just like.
It's not cool.
No.
I'm not trying to make it cool. Like, I'm just putting it out there.
But you're like, man, they're making some performance parts.
I know. Well, keep in mind, we also have 2 6.5s guys in here that are actually doing things with 6.5s, and I hate to say
I did that
they're getting down
for
but
the
like
U.S. military.
Yeah, like
Didn't work then. Won't work now. What rod broke? It's always number 5. I don't know why.
6.5 guys, you hear that? Number
Yeah,
5.
every single connecting rod ever broken on one of those things. So is it number 5? Sure enough. How'd you know that?
Because I know everything.
Yeah. Uniquely enough, it's because I remember all the rest of them before yours.
Yeah.
Them trucks. They were good for fuel economy and they were pretty comfortable, but they always broke number 5. Mm-hmm. The IDIs, they come in at 68 to maybe 70, 75 horsepower at the rear wheel. And we would play with the injection pump. I know, right? Sounds pretty lethargic, but that thing drove down the road. Like it got it. Like you set the cruise, and that old tank just ate. But there was no 400 horsepower daily driving. Like back then, a fast car was 225 horsepower. So, I mean, and yeah. So, anyways, you'd zoop them things up. We'd crank them up, give them the old fuel screw, and maybe bump the timing a little bit, and we would get that thing to make about $1.25. And they were fairly smoke-free-ish. And at like 130, it was like you might as well have just like wrapped the air filter with duct tape. It smoked that bad. So then they'd be like, "Man, you want to put turbo in?" I'm like, "Absolutely not." Like zero part of me wants to ever install a turbo on that thing. So take it somewhere. Go home, buy a Banks kit. And 3 days later, I'll see you, and I'll turn the pump up. And then we'd crank them up to, I think we got those things to make them dang near 200 horse, maybe a little over 200 horse. But I guess back then that would have been impressive. Now, if you tried to like make one of those things make 400 horsepower, I am positive connecting rods, crankshaft, and block would all be very hesitant to staying together and hanging out very long. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just doubt it.
I'm sure.
Even with a turbo, they're not that. They're literally not exciting at all. Like I had that 6.2 with the Banks Sidewinder. Mm-hmm. Dude, that thing was like, man, I could have got out and ran faster.
The coolest part about that was the acronym Sidewinder.
Yeah, Sidewinder.
Sidewinder.
Made of real bits and pieces of real tornadoes.
We honed out some nozzles on those things back in the old day, and I did it for the GM 6.5 in that.
Was that with that
Hummer.
drill press I saw in your shop?
Dude, actually, we were just shoving media through them. We'd shove media for like 30
Who needs
seconds.
a barley juice? Yeah.
I guess.
You guys keep talking.
I'm more of a light kind
White
of
Claw?
a guy, and not your. I mean, White Claw over your, like super.
He brought you a Michelob Ultra seltzer.
Not on camera. I can't do that. But here's my.
We already
cup.
talked about it. He's actually drinking a Guinness.
Make that a snake bite, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guinness on top, little floater. Can't wait. No, I just think that the older trucks. What's really happening today is. Probably has some supply chain issues. And since nobody can buy chips, we can't ship trucks, which hurts all the factories, but it helps us in the aftermarket industry, and it's really helping. Consumers don't even realize how much it's helping them right now. But quite honestly, I wouldn't really want to purchase a $100,000 truck today and trust that I'm going to own it in 20 years, because I don't think that I would.
Yeah.
I think that emissions gear and things like that, we're still in the premature phase of really knowing the science behind what's actually going on with all those trucks. So I feel like this is a great time for everybody that can't go buy a brand new truck, because the OEMs are having to study those things harder and better. We're getting more miles on them every single day, and the aftermarket guys are starting to figure them out better. So I feel like this is a great little interim lull where the knowledge is getting thrown into all the emissions gear and keeping those trucks alive and on the road is good, versus just burying ourselves in a bunch of inventory that is going to be broken down and sitting at car lots forever broken. So
Thank you.
The aftermarket stuff that we've really got, like 94 and later, 89 and later, all the Dynomax stuff, that old stuff, like it's 20 years old now. But I mean, I've got guys that work for me that were like 8 when I started my company.
Yeah.
And that makes me feel super old now. Makes me feel like I earned this gray beard. But those guys don't have a clue. Like Skylar, he's like, man, making 1,000 horsepower is easy today. And we're laughing like, dude, you know what it used to take to make 1,000 horsepower?
Oh, God. Yeah.
Retarded nozzles. Like, we just blew a bunch of media through and made them as big as we could. Didn't have a clue as to what effect it was doing to the rate shape or the body or the injection pressure. We just ran a bunch of media through there. We stacked a TS ramifier with a TST box, and you cranked that thing up, and it held the injector open so long that it would actually kind of fart. The exhaust valve would open, and it was still injecting fuel, so it would like pop in the turbine housing, and they were super hard on turbos. And then BD came out with this like pressure
Pressure
box
rheostat.
The pressure rheostat, and then they had one that was like a duration rheostat. And I tuned those things like on the dyno. I would get it to where it would make X power, and I would just hide that thing underneath the dash so nobody could ever touch it. Because let's be honest, America, we're too lazy to actually like figure out what that guy did.
Right.
So we zip tied that thing under there, get it all dialed in, and under the dash she goes. We were stacking boxes on boxes on boxes, and now we just call up a tuner that I've never really worked with, and within 4 hours we're making 700 smoke-free horsepower with 1,100 degrees of VGT, 1150, something like that.
I think on the video you posted, it was like it was 1044.
All right. It wasn't very much.
Which is like nothing.
No, it wasn't much. And it's a good thing, because the technology that we have now with, head studs, turbos, transmissions, all of it, we're like starting to you mentioned nitro gears. 430s with 38s. Hey, what a concept. You actually made it work in its zone of happiness. At first we were like 355s and 35s, 355s and 37s, 355s and killed transmissions. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Didn't see that one
Transmissions suck. No, it wasn't the tranny. It was us being ignorant.
Yeah.
Like every hot rodder on the planet, it's like, man, I got this stall, I got 410s, I got blah, 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 blah. And we've just always had so much torque. It's been like, force it.
Yeah.
Force it, it'll take it. It didn't take it.
Yeah.
Now we're starting to get it, and things are actually, we got sled pullers that like go 2 seasons at 13, 14, 1,600 horsepower. And I got guys that don't even run pyrometers. Yesterday, you and the tuner, hey, can we do a pyro check on that? Can we plug the box back into a pyro check? I'm like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. When we're finally done using all the EFI Live stuff, We'll make a hit. We'll send him a video of it. All right, cool. And now you know why I wasn't worried about it.
Yeah.
I wasn't worried. Like after knowing what I know about injection event, beginning of injection and EOI, end of injection, and everything that's happening between those 2 points, after knowing what I know now and how our stuff shuts off, I'm like, don't worry about the pyro.
I think that he was asking for that because honestly, and this is no discredit to anybody.
He didn't believe us.
Exactly. This is a learning experience for a lot of people yesterday, including myself. But I think he was like,
Ain't no goddamn way.
That's right. He's like, and the only way that I can tell for sure this is going to be right or not is I need to know what the EGTs are, because that's going to be just maybe they're not telling me on purpose.
Right.
I don't know, but I will. That last piece of information should be able to put the piece in the puzzle for me.
Yeah.
And like I wish we were screen recording this or had a camera going on, because you sent him a video of the Edge Insight while it was doing this run. And as we're watching the video together, because none of us had seen it yet, his message came through after seeing it, going like, "Holy shit, is that real?
Yeah.
Are you
Those
serious?
real numbers?
Yeah.
You just did that? Like, yeah. Dang.
Yeah.
Damn.
I'm just working with such a special group of people that are really in tune with what we're doing. And we're all pretty passionate about it. We got guys that pull, we got guys that race, we got guys that just, Mitch is the newest guy to the crew. He lives in Oregon still, travels here, works for us 410s, goes home on Thursday. He's not seeing his family 4 days a week. That takes passion.
Oh, yeah.
Like that dude could have stayed home and he could have worked on vehicles for the rest of his life. But doing what we're doing is something totally different. And he's so passionate about it. He's like, yeah, we're going to sell our house. We're going to sell his wife's got a flower company, like florist company. Mm-hmm. And they're uprooting and moving because they believe in the overall goal. They believe in what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And that makes me super happy, because trying to find people that have that passion is next to impossible. You're trying to find people that'll show up to work's tough, but trying to find somebody that like believes in the message and wants to run with the message is a huge deal. And our momentum is 100% based on all of the folks that work with me. It's made my life super easy, and it's making me look like a rock star, but it's not me.
I agree.
I opened that door, left it right there.
Left it right open.
It's
Yeah.
fine. It's fine.
And that's what you get for being too humble, folks.
Yeah.
Kicked right smack in the gut.
Yeah.
It's okay. We're friends.
Yeah.
We were.
Meet you outside, bitch.
Can't wait.
All right. I want to talk about one more thing here.
Catalytic converters. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, actually, I wasn't going to be it, but yeah, we can talk about it.
It's super impressive.
Really? I know, right?
Yeah.
So
Keep in mind, it's a pretty free-flowing cat.
Yeah, but it is a cat nonetheless.
Yeah, it is a cat
And
nonetheless.
it's a carb legal cat.
It's 100%. Yes.
So
carb legal. Yep.
What we got towards, I think it was like almost the last run, or maybe the last run of yesterday.
Yeah.
And we were talking about exhaust notes or something like that, and you were talking about Skylar's truck is super raspy because of the hood stack, and Vern's truck because you have ear protection in there.
Yeah.
And we probably should have been wearing it yesterday, but none of us were, because
need it.
compared to everything else, it's not very loud.
We don't have tire to drum noise,
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
so all you have is just axles going, and then the engine was. I've ridden inside cars, and as we were standing outside of that one, inside of a lot of cars that I've been in is a lot noisier than what we were dealing with outside.
Yeah. But yeah, towards the end, we were talking about exhaust note, and like, oh yeah, it's got a 5-inch. And we're talking about, I was like, yeah, we got a cat in there. And Lenny looks at me, you have a fucking cat in there? There's a catalytic converter.
I knew it wasn't like meow meow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's like basically out, like, did I hear you correctly? Like, motherfucker, what? Yeah. I was like, yeah, we got a 5-inch Magnaflow carb legal high flow cat. Put that in there.
And I said what?
I can't remember. You just ecstatic.
I was like, dude, I'm going to buy one.
Yeah.
Like, I'm excited to test catalytic with all of the gas testing equipment, not just opacity, but all the, just all the gas, the NOx and everything, AFR, all of it. To be able to throw a cat on something just to test and pull it back off and test again. I want to really see I want to see the science behind what a catalytic converter actually does to gases. That's what I want.
You know what? Like, me too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like, especially like you always think like, well, I'll look up some data and start comparing some data or something. Like, no.
Everything I've ever read about anything on the internet has been bullshit.
But the fact that you have the equipment that you do now, it's like, all right, I just got to find the time in the truck, and I'm going to find my own data points and then compare them. I'm not going to rely on some other test that rifled through a whole bunch of CEOs and VPs to make sure that it looks right.
Right.
Lenny Reed's going to look at Lenny Reed numbers.
I just want to know.
Yeah, well, even for like now, like even on our site right now, we can't sell an exhaust kit for an 04.5 to 07 truck that's not a cat back kit. Like with the way the EPA is with things now, like you have to have a cat on there in their eyes. And to be able to offer an aftermarket cat along with 5-inch exhaust or a 4-inch exhaust or whatever and still make power and still, you know, have that fun truck, it's pretty badass.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of people, when they hear cat or even DPFs and stuff like that, they're like, oh, you're not making no power. Like what you know, you're not going to do anything with that. Like it's impossible. What, you know, you just got to break that, whatever you want to call it, the barrier, and to show people like, no, this is real data. You can read whatever bullshit you want to read online, but we actually did it, and this is what happened.
There is an ignorance barrier in everything, and I believe that you know how much gear we have.
Yeah.
Like you know what we can do and how much stuff we can tune and tweak, and I'm super excited to have it all. But I really want to start collecting data so I can walk into some university that's got a government grant and be like, do you guys know how wrong you've been?
Yeah.
Swing on out. Like, check this out. Like, fly into Spokane. I'll pick you up at the airport. We're going to make a zoom out to my house. I want to show you some shit. And have them be like, what?
You're going to be like, Lenny, the sauna in your bedroom is freaking awesome. Can we get to the dyno?
Yeah.
Just want to take some pictures.
As you get old, okay, and I'll tell you what.
Misled.
So, story behind the sauna. Basically, I was going to have a pretty good sized gun vault that was going to be just outside of my bedroom in case you ever swung by and the camera ever picked you up. I was going to be able to pick you off from my bedroom. So I wanted the gun safe close by, and then we lost all the walls in a windstorm one time. All fell over. It's like horrible. It was like 80, 100 mile an hour windstorm. I come around the corner. I'm like, shit, house gone. Yeah, I was laying on the ground. I'm like, well, the elk in the front yard at that very moment were cool to see, but then I cried. And I walked in the camp trailer. This is really going to sound depressing. This is going to sound like the kind of moment on the movie where the guy almost suck starts a pistol.
Suck starts a pistol.
So I turn, I sweep in real quick to my yard because I see that there's elk and this bull. And I'm like, damn, he's going to run me over. And then he kind of, you know, just, okay, well, you're good then. I'm good. And then I thought to myself, like, I didn't see the house. So then I backed up nice and slow. And it's super windy right now, right? And I'm like, oh, fudge. And I didn't call my builder. I just like drove, pulled up to my camp trailer, got out, walked in, opened up a whiskey bottle, and proceeded.
Yeah.
And I woke up the next morning, and usually by now I'm like off to the shop, aka gym, and doing my thing. Well, this morning I was waking up with one eye going, cobwebs and pain. And builder's out there, and he's like, yeah. And he goes, just go to work, dude. Just go to work. I got it. We'll get it straightened out. It's going to be fine. And then I posted a story to like Snapchat. Chase Fleece is like, he's got him, Derek Rose, Little John, and they're all hanging out and they're working on some stuff for Derek Rose. And Chase saw my story already that morning, right? And he looks at those guys and he goes, we got to call Lenny Reed. We got to tell that guy that we need some big fucking injectors for this motor because he just got his ass kicked.
Fuck.
His house is laying on the ground. He's got to get his head back in. Like, he's good at injectors. Get him to build some injectors today. Otherwise, he's going to be, we just got to change him. And Little John's like, dude, if his house fell over, let's leave him alone. Chase is like, no, this is when you tell the motherfucker to get up and knock the dust off.
Yeah.
And that set of injectors, basically Skylar already had a set built for his like truck. So we used Skylar's bodies and we made a new set of nozzles, shipped them out, and they made, it was big power. It was like, it was big power. It was what Derek Rose's Blue Balls Billet 2.0 did all year last year was that set of injectors. So,
Damn.
I mean, good things come out of all bad things. Anyway, so the house falls over, and then I'm like walking around the house, and I'm thinking, if this thing ever catches on fire, then my guns are all going to be laying in the kitchen on the floor. And that's going to suck. So I moved the gun safe and turned it into a sauna because on Amazon you can buy a sauna for like $550. So I bought the sauna heater, bought a bunch of cedar, and that's how I ended up with that.
Hey.
Now we're doing a vault in the garage
10 out of 10.
with a small gun safe next to my bed just in case anybody shows up.
Yeah.
In case. Speaking of blue trucks, can we talk about the blue truck that the one that was on the dyno right now?
The second gen.
Oh,
that's what
the
I'm saying.
VP44?
Okay, yeah, I didn't know if there were things under wraps still.
I was going to ask him
okay,
about
yeah.
it too if we wanted to talk about
yeah.
that. If
No, we
if
can talk
could.
about that, and we can talk about my blue 12 valve too.
Let's do it. Make it happen.
So,
Okay.
customer complaint was hot and smoky. I'm like, all right. And they got a set of 100 horse injectors. He's like, dude, we tried an edge box, tried a Quadzilla, tried everything. It's got a fleece cheetah turbo on it, and this thing just runs hot and smoky. I'm like, all right. I don't believe you because Chase Fleece currently has a set of 200s, and those injectors Chase loves. But I'd like to drive your truck, so let's do this. So he, Deer Park Diesel brings truck out, and it's their customer's truck. And I go for a ride, and we crank it up, and I stand on it one time, and I look over, and I'm like, huh, this is the fastest VP44 truck I ever sat in. And he goes, it does get down. I'm like, dude, this thing's retarded. Like, this is kind of mental for a VP44 truck. I've never ridden in one this fast. And he goes, no, it's pretty good. I'm like, dude, this thing gets down.
Like, you're not understanding what I'm telling you.
Yeah, like this thing gets down.
Yeah.
I was mind blown because it wasn't that smoky. Like, so I look at him and I'm like, what do you think makes proud? He's like, oh, mid to high fives. I'm like, I'll bet it's every bit of that. So we end up putting the truck on the dyno. Truck made 450-ish with zero tuning in it whatsoever. And I'm like, oh, you take that truck, it's a 235 rated truck. You lose, call it 8% to the rear hub. So you're just a bit over 200 with stock injectors, which we did document. We built them a set of injectors like our old hundreds, threw some stalkers at it, just so we knew that we had baselines of like a normal truck and there was nothing else that was going on. And then we put, his injectors in it, and it makes 450. So those are a 250 horsepower injector. Whoops. Bad math. Gonna call that bad math. But if you got any of those injectors, you think they're a little hot, you're probably right. Send them back. I'll take them and we'll turn them into something way smaller. So using that truck, we made a bunch of, and then I think the wire that we used was 6/6 to make those holes. And I made something that was 5/7, right with the guys at Deer Park. Like, I'm like, here, I'll show you how we make some nozzles. So we just knocked them out, put those injectors in it, and it picked up 30 or 40 horse again. I'm like, it's like 470 now with no tuning. Zero smoke, no tuning. They smoked less, but they made more horsepower. So our AFR, air fuel ratio, is now more proper, and we're keeping the injection line pressure higher, so it's snapping the nozzle harder. Therefore, the rate shape, per se, of a mechanical injector is even better with the smaller wire. So we started backing it back down, and pretty soon I'm using wire that's 5 thou 1/10. It was 5/1 was the smallest one I did. 6 holes, sac-style nozzle, DLC-coated needle valve, so a little bit faster, a little bit slicker. And like the old RV 275s that everybody has been around for 20-some years, those things are 7-hole. They're 9.8, 9.9, 10 thou holes. So they're a pretty good-sized hole. And they don't smoke. They don't run that bad. But these are now like 6 thou with 6 holes. So I'm very excited to see what fuel economy happens with this new style stuff compared to what we were doing just not very long ago.
So I want you to repeat one part of that. The horsepower with no tuning.
Yeah, that's actually that's freaking awesome on a
You glanced over
non-tuned
that, but-
VP truck. Those things are dogs without tuning.
They're
And
also
they're dirty.
smoke rollers.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
They don't have a lot of volume out the injection pump. The pressure's not that great. We've always dropped the opening pressure of the nozzle down to 290 bar, and I think they're like 310 from the factory. They were pretty high, and they sound real. They just got that mechanical poppy sound, and I don't love that. And then VP44s don't love that either, and they all fail. So by releasing, I'm not trying to be mean.
They do. No, I know they 100. I'm laughing because it's so true.
They're not cooled by engine oil. They're not lubed by engine oil. They're cooled and lubed off diesel inside of them.
Yeah.
And then you put a big set of injectors in there and you evacuate that. Well, then that's basically like trying to run a CP3 pump with 0 PSI like Duramax does it, but they always blow up. The same pump basically goes in a Dodge with 5 or 6 pounds of fuel pressure and they don't blow up. Right. So obviously lube and keeping fresh, cool fluid there helps. Lowering the opening pressures helps those things live a lot longer. But the small spray holes that we're using, like the 3-4 lock-to-lock shift in that truck, even with that Cheetah on there, 1,200 RPM, you're looking out the mirror expecting to see that pop, 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 and it's just not there. Instead, this thing gets kind of pissed off and it goes, and then it makes like 3 or 4 pounds of boost, and you're just like, that's not normal. So thanks to the guys at Deer Park Diesel again, I call them and I'm like, this is great that you're giving me this truck. I'm going to send it out the door with these injectors. We took it back. Their customer is going to have something that makes 450, 500 horsepower, and it's going to be like really smoke free. I then asked them, do you have another truck with just a stock turbo on it? Like, I need nothing, no tuning, no nothing. I want a stock truck. And one of their customers has an ETH truck, so that's a 245, like 01 or 02 6-speed truck. And they were
called an ETH truck?
ETC was the standard output truck, and the ETH was the acronym for the high output 245s.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
So they had this 245 horse 6-speed truck, 01, and it's now on our dyno, bolted up to the hubs. So when Mitch gets back Monday morning, we're going to start knocking out the Ecos and the 50s, the 75s, and possibly 100s. And we'll start measuring like all the stuff we need to measure to figure out what you can get away with on a stock turbocharger with just a boost elbow and like a boost fooler with no other electronics.
Dude, hell yeah. I've never thought I would say this, but you make me wish I still had my second gen. So I would tell you when I had my done in my second gen.
When you want to have your second gen back, but it's like if you could have had 450 to the tire,
I think you were still
free, no tuning. It's like shit. Yeah,
I think you were still in Seattle when I had my second gen. I will say I dynoed 637 horsepower with my second gen with a hot rod pump, a set of 150 BD nozzles, and
it's almost offensive.
I know, dude. Oh, I did throw some nitrous at it that I made. I made a little nitrous kit because she was smoky as fuck.
Oh yeah.
And but she held together until third gear. It was a 5-speed. I just grenaded third gear in that thing. Like it was.
What size tires were on it?
35s.
355 gears, 35s. Nothing lived.
I was 19 years old, Lenny.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a stack.
I hate everything about this. I gotta go.
No, it was a fun truck though. It was a little street stomper. I felt like I was king of the world with that thing.
Well, I think, and this is really what's cool. Common rail. What we know about injector on time or duration, we're now applying that to P pumps and VP44s. When you plug a box into a VP44, the only thing you can do, you can't ask it to make more rail pressure.
Yeah.
So all it's going to do is basically chatter the nozzle longer, giving you more duration. And I just explained duration, like piston goes up, piston goes down. I don't care if it's on a common rail, a VP44, or a P pump. They got the same throw in the crankshaft, the same connecting rods, the same dwell time. Mm-hmm. So if we can get the injector to make that pop as violent and clean as possible and stop, like no dribbling, no leaking, no shutting off slowly. We want it like on, off. We want that. The motor is going to be the happiest there. So all we're doing is applying common rail technology to mechanical stuff. And top secret, we're working on different plungers that are a little bit cooler. Well, the idea of them is really cool, but we're probably going to have plungers manufactured that are a little bit larger and a very unique profile that not everybody believes in, that I love. And they're going to be with, the camshaft that's inside of a P pump is responsible for like the injector ramp rate. Mm-hmm. So some of the camshafts pretty flaccid. They're just not very fast. They're pretty boring. And then some of them are a lot more fun, but then you put like a really hot cam that you would have in a mechanical sled pull truck, like a 2.6 or a 3-inch, like a dude that makes real power going down the PPL track. I have one of those pumps in my blue truck right now, and with the injectors being so small, the pump ramp rate is so aggressive that the pump hates those little injectors. So we've got to find something for that sub 1,000 horsepower guy that's a quicker rate than a factory, but not the full-on sled pull cam, 18 degrees of, like basically we measure that in how long does it take to complete the injection event for a P pump. Stocks like 36 degrees of crankshaft revolution, and some of these aftermarket ones are getting down to like 15, 16, 17 degrees. So it's twice as fast. And when you wrap them up, when you've got big injectors in there and it can take that fluid, they do work. I mean, they work really good. But when you put a set in that you can drive on the street, it's not very happy. So I'm learning, but we're
I think it's
all
awesome.
of it. Like just, yes. And I have conversations with, 2 or 3 people are in the U.S. that I really respect, and I appreciate their knowledge and the brain thoughts, just the food for thought. And then I go to work and I'm like, and then I talk to my guys about it and we work through it. And then having the guys that we've assembled is amazing. It's really, I work with some super sharp people.
Me and Tyler really appreciate those conversations, and then you talking to you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, another thing I was gonna.
That was a joke. It's not me and Tyler. It's definitely not me and Tyler.
We're the brain.
We're the dumpster.
You did pick up a lot yesterday, though.
Oh shit, man!
I wish I was there. Honestly, I wish I was there.
I wish you were there too, man.
Just especially seeing like your machines working and you explaining kind of what's going on there, and then actually put that to practice and see it on the dyno. I feel like I missed out.
It frustrates me because the EPA, they've scared a lot of people, and a lot of people are like, dude, we just do stock shit now. I'm like, well, okay, I get it. You're doing ball joints. Well, no, we're just like, doing injectors, just stock ones. Like, okay, so by you being a limp, like salesperson or service advisor or whatever you want to call it, and just saying, look, you need to make your truck run again. Let's just run down to Napa and buy a set of injectors, or let's run down to CarQuest, buy a set of injectors. You're getting injectors that start and run, but when you look at the science that goes into that injector, there is none. So is it ever going to run like it did from the factory? Probably not near that good. And we're trying to make, like, I'm not making 6,000 injectors a day, but we're trying to make super drivable, usable stuff. If I make a 300 horse truck and you make a 300 horse truck, but mine runs way better than yours, I told you yesterday, I'm like, dude, this is the kind of 06 truck that you post for $75,000 and people go, no way. And they drive it and they're like, I can't write you a check fast enough.
Yeah.
There you go. Take my money. Because that truck runs really, really good. It's really well put together, and it's just a nice vehicle. And it's not beat up, it's not thrashed, and it's not cobbled together, and it doesn't have any stupid idiosyncrasies that most people that don't have like my level of knowledge would have to go and seek out 37 different shops to try and finally figure out what it is that's been wrong with that thing for its whole life. Mm-hmm. And people hate that stuff. They don't want to deal with it. Yeah. That truck that you're dealing with, like, it's gold.
The beauty of that is, and we got to get to whatever you were going to say here in just a second, is that the drivability factor of it and having that so dialed in is the difference between, like, no one else drives my truck but me. But the other side is like, no one else can drive my truck besides me. That's like, so like that is like, I could toss the keys to my wife and I know, hey, it's a fast truck. If you stomp the pedal, you're gonna fucking go. But
it's gonna get down.
Yeah, but if you just drive it like normal, it's gonna act like normal.
Yeah.
Just know that if you stomp on it, it's gonna get violent, and she could go drive it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, your 1,000 horsepower street truck with the big
like, here, listen, this is what you got to do when you come up to a stoplight.
You got to feather it. It's going to back off on you. You got to feather a little more. Yeah. Once you hit 35, you got to tap the brake to make sure the converter doesn't lock up too early. And then you got to keep going.
And then you got to roll into it hard.
Yeah. If you hit 40 miles an hour and you're not at 75% throttle, you might as well just hit the stoplight and start over again.
Yeah.
I remember when I was young, there was dudes that had like, you go to BD's Dyno Day. And there was dudes in there, and it was like a 747 cockpit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They got gauges and flip switches and shit. And I'm
converter
like,
lock.
What in the ever-loving shit is this? And there's dudes going, wham, 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 wham. And I'm like, what is going on? And then I roll up there with an Android that's tuned correctly, a fuel plate, a set of injectors, knock out 500 horsepower. I'm like, eat it.
Yeah.
You see them switches? It's the one on my right foot.
Yeah.
I stepped on that one. Shit happened.
Yeah.
Y'all got to get rid of all that junk.
Well, what I was going to bring up earlier, especially with like these new trucks with emissions, and me going to your shop and seeing like some of the deviations, some of the issues that even stock injectors have. Mm-hmm. Like, to me, it seems like if you were to build like me a stock injector and then have good tuning, that's not only going to run better just right out of the box, but at the same time, it's going to extend the life of my DPF filter and all that shit, because with where injection is actually happening, it's burning cleaner and more efficiently to where it's not having to use EGR as much. It's not plugging filters up.
Yeah.
Like, is that fair to say?
Well, speaking of extensions, of life expectancy on filters. My 2019 is currently out on the road. Chris Krebs is going through Wyoming and visiting shops there right now. And unfortunately, we put a set of injectors in it Monday morning that the exact same size, the exact same set was in my 2019 HO. Uh-huh. And that truck was 80,000 miles of, like, bear in mind, we had 15 sets of injectors in it before they were good. But it was perfect. That thing pulled like a freight train. Never had any check engine lights with that last set of injectors. But the SO trucks, the standard output trucks, have a different plate inside of them, the same nozzle, but a different plate. So we modified the SO injector to make it identical to the HO injector we had in that dually. Mm-hmm. And the ECM calibration is obviously different because we are now, this week, plugging DPF like crazy.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's like Chris is throwing check engine lights and codes and crap all the time.
Oh, shit.
So we're doing that.
Yeah.
So my customers don't have to.
Right. Yeah.
That's the difference. Like, I'm not just going to, like, run out and build a bunch of junk and be like, oh, shit, I haven't heard of that problem, bro. That's definitely a you thing.
Yeah.
Because I hear that all the time.
Well,
guys call up and they're like, oh, you know, I sent him in 3 times. And I'm like, send him in.
Well, I think it's cool that even just working on something like that to for people with emissions filters. Because, I mean, me personally, like, I would be interested in something like that. I don't want to have a plugged filter. I don't want to have, me having to replace that prematurely or something, or whatever. No. So if there is a set, if that's where all the issues are coming from as far as the filters plugging up, is the even just factory injectors, and if that can be remedied, like, I mean, how long, can those filters last? I mean, and if it never has to go into regen, like, I mean, I'm not saying never. Obviously, it's going to get to the point where it will go through regen at some point. But if you can make that happen way less, it's just going to extend the life of the filters.
Mathematically, those trucks will go so many miles anyway, and they
automatically
regen.
But if it's already pretty
clean, then it's not going to stay in regen very long.
Right.
Well, and then when you start thinking about it, you start extruding the idea of, because everything's cost driven. I know a lot of guys out there, they're budgeting, and maybe they just bought a 2020 and they're like,
they shouldn't have mentioned budget then.
So I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but this is what makes my brain. But like, if you could, okay, let's say, well, I guess. Never mind. I did it. I did mean to interrupt you, but at the same time, like, okay, we throw a set of injectors in, like, let's say my truck, and some like really good tuning that works with those injectors, and you throw it on like the opacity thing, and it burns. But this is where my thought ends, because it's still going through the filters. It's still doing, the filters are still doing something. Because I was going to say, like, then what's the point of the filters? And at that point, if you can make it burn cleaner just without the filters.
So at that point, you need what's called a test pipe.
Yeah, yeah, that's what they're called. Yeah, a test pipe. Yeah.
That's where I want to go to colleges and be like, hey, look, check this out.
Right.
Even without all that garbage, like, if we truly only care about the air. Like, if that's the end goal, just us breathing clean air that we can actually live in, then see these examples I've got, and let's not worry about what's under the hood. Like, I don't care if there's magic unicorns under the hood propelling this thing. As long as we're not putting out the gases you say we don't put out, then open up your mind and let's look at some new ideas.
So you're saying it is a possibility, like, where a truck, without any special tuning, you could take filters off of it. Not illegally, but, take filters off and have it burn clean, if not cleaner than it does with the filters on. Like, is that a possibility?
Ideally, I believe that's what because, I mean, you guarantee that Cummins, Ford, Chevrolet, Komatsu, Caterpillar, you guarantee that all of them have spent an awful lot of money trying to overcome the situations that they've got going on with warranties. So if they could get away with not using all the stuff that's costing them profits on warranties, and they could make a more reliable product that customers could actually purchase and go use, then I guarantee they'd be doing it.
Yeah.
So at this point in game, like, if we, meaning, the government, is truthfully, like, after clean air and saving the environment, then we've really got to open up our brains and start looking at things for, like, what's coming out tailpipe, what's really hurting us. And then we've got to really restudy the gases they claim are giving us all these heart and chest issues, and we need to look close at that to figure out if that's actually even real or if that's not necessarily real as well.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot that needs to be reevaluated, and I think that, basically with diesel trucks, sorry.
No, you're good.
The biggest problem with diesel trucks is you see the black stuff.
Yeah. It's a visual.
Sorry, I've been saying that for
ever. Right.
Yeah.
No,
So
it's a visual
thing,
thing.
and it's
Visual,
upsetting.
you can see it.
Right.
It's basically plant food. Like it's going to get blown into the gutter. It's going to get blown into the field. Those crops will still grow. It's going to get watered into the soil, and it's just an unburnt hydrocarbon. It's an unburnt hydrocarbon. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
Like that's not going to kill you. Is it? I've been in a dyno bay plenty, and I've been breathing that stuff for 20 years, and I'm still here.
Yeah.
Like, do I have headaches and things like that? Not now. Did I have a headache the day that I did it? Well, obviously, I was in a dyno bay for 12 hours doing stuff that like most people would never actually ever be around. I'm probably more worried about my hearing being in that dyno cell than I was about what I was breathing. Right. Now, you take an alcohol motor, a gasoline motor, an E85 motor, and you put me in that same dyno cell, I bet I feel like hell for 3 days.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's worse stuff that you can't see. Like painters, the isocyanates in paint is what kills painters. You can't see an isocyanate. You see the red paint coming out, and you're like, well, I can't breathe that shit. It's the isocyanate that's in that shit.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of the stuff that we don't see, and people see the black, and they're like, it's gross. And then some senator goes, you know what? I agree.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, like they're after DPFs and they're after everything else. It's immature children that are being sold garbage parts and garbage tuning and combining 2 garbage parts and making it double garbage. And it's not fast. Mm-hmm. Like when you see the Hazleys, the Shides, the super stocks, when you see a 3-inch, when you see Jason Wayman, when you see all these guys that are competing at sled pulling and they're rolling the coal, they have to do that because the air fuel ratio that they have to be in is to quench the flame out. So they're managing exhaust gas temperature, using that fuel to quench it back down and cool it off. Otherwise, they duke the motor. Mm-hmm. So if they leaned it back down to try and make that same power on a lean side of the curve, it would just melt the motor right out of it. And that's not very competitive. It's like, oh, well, who made it the furthest? Well, the guy that had the motor that lived longest. Mm-hmm. That's why competitive sled pulling, whether it's truck or tractor, they're using the excess diesel to quench the flame and manage the exhaust gas temperature. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
It's not because they want to look cool.
Right.
That's part of engine management. That's maintenance.
Yeah.
So after yesterday, seeing what we did with that truck,
Sorry.
Yes, sir.
One more point. Mm-hmm. For all of the young guys out there that think that rolling coal is cool, buying engine oil today is stupid expensive. And finding an oil filter is kind of hard these days, right? The more coal you roll, the bigger your injector and the crappier your tune. I dare you to do this. Walk out to your engine once in a while, take the dipstick out, put 1 drop of oil on a piece of paper. Wait 5 minutes. The oil will stay in a nice tight little ring, and the fuel from all of your excess tuning and injectors and garbage saturates into the paper, and that's when you know you need an oil change. Well, I just changed my oil yesterday. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, change it today. Yeah. But that's expensive. That's because you're ignorant and you've been doing things completely wrong. So it's not my fault that it's $150 to change an oil, but you're ruining your motor by not changing oil the way you're supposed to. If it's full of diesel, diesel's not a lubricant. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. After yesterday, seeing what we were able to accomplish with that truck and the horsepower number we were able to make with the opacity, I wouldn't say I was a non-believer, but being able to see with my eyes as far as like making a 6.7 run clean enough to pass emissions without actually emissions on it, I believe that it can happen.
I mean 5.9.
I know it's a 5.9.
Okay.
The 5.9
but he's simply saying like a modern day.
Modern day 6. Right.
Seeing what we were able to do the 5.9.
Yeah.
I don't know 5.9, 6.7 different engines. Very, very similar though. Can we all agree? Very similar. As far as being able to, and again, this is a 700 horsepower truck.
Right.
If we're trying to make a 450 horsepower truck, a 400 horsepower truck that burns so clean with the stock turbo that it actually burns cleaner without the emissions on there than it did with it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility after seeing it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but after seeing what yesterday, I can like the numbers are there.
Yeah.
Now the equipment is there.
Yeah, and like with manufacturers, like you were saying, like they're trying to develop these new engines with all these emissions regulations. I feel like even though I guarantee they have the technology to be able to test everything and get things dialed in, but they're having to work with this with this thing they got to put in the exhaust, whereas there's companies like you that are specializing in one aspect of it and doing it really damn good, and then getting it with another guy that's doing this aspect of the truck really damn good, and then combining those things, and now you have a truck that just burns clean without even having to, have a filter. Like that. Unfortunately, I know it sounds really cool, and I want it to happen, but unfortunately, with the government being involved with this shit, it's unfortunately not going to freaking happen, which sucks.
The bigger the company, the slower it is to turn that company.
Yeah,
like it's already on a trajectory.
Yeah.
So in order to move the steering wheel 1 inch, they've got to have meetings upon meetings upon meetings upon meetings before you can move that steering wheel. With a company our size, like we're a speedboat, like we're a 19-foot boat. We can like get in the gas, get out of the gas, turn left, turn right, stop, go, do whatever we want, whenever we want. With a large manufacturer, they're based on, like they've got shareholders, they've got investors, they've got people they have to keep pleasing. And if they don't keep pleasing those people, then those people are going to make sure that you're replaced.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be somebody else in there that's willing to do that job for that money.
Yeah.
With us, like when we get something out there that's really good, I sell it.
Yeah.
And later on, when somebody goes, hey, this thing does this, I go, no shit. Let's look at that. So that goes on a punch list of things that we need to look at.
Yeah.
And later on, it's not profitable for me to do it, but we still re-look at it, because the way I see it, if I can make a better part and some dude types on the interweb that he just bought my new part and it works and it's super whatever, then I feel like somebody's going to read that and they're going to buy it. The ones that I sold 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago potentially are worn out or potentially not, and they're like, oh hell, I want the latest greatest stuff too.
Yeah.
Like nobody's ever bought a computer and been like, that's my last.
Right. Or phone, or any of that shit. Yeah.
Yeah, $1,000 phone. Basically, it costs us what, a telephone is the most ridiculous thing on the planet.
Yeah.
On the average, most people keep a phone for like say 12 to 15 months. They're $1,000.
Yeah.
And that's before you pay your phone bill.
Yeah. That's hundreds of dollars a month in some cases.
Yeah.
It's the dumbest thing ever. America.
God.
With the phone thing, I used to be the new phone. As soon as it comes out, I always get it. And
You're rich.
Yeah.
I was single.
Rich.
I was single. Not saying I'm not happy where I am now, but like it's like, oh yeah, sure, I'll get it. That's fine. It's always upgrade, always upgrade. And finally, like I got this. I have an iPhone X, right? It's 10, whatever. And I've always, like, after I finished paying it off, because Verizon, you can't like buy your phone out anymore outright. That was my thing. I always traded the phone in, got the money out of it, and then paid for the new phone up front.
Yeah.
Because I hate monthly payments. I freaking hate that. And so after I finished paying this thing off, I immediately thought, I want to get a new one. And then I started looking at the pricing, and I'm like, I kind of like not having to pay an extra $70 a month in my phone bill, because that new phone that I want, the 14, is like $1,300, and I'm going to be literally paying $60 a month forever before the phone's going to wear out. Before
It's a freaking racket.
Yeah, and I was like, well,
None
this
of
thing
them do
works.
anything different. They take pictures, they store shit.
And they go a little bit fast, just a tiny bit faster.
I'm old. I don't give a shit.
So
I would take a flip phone still. I would still take
I
a
do
flip
a flip phone every day of the week if I could actually check my bank balance and things like that.
Yeah.
Like if it didn't have Facebook, I'd be like, man, best flip phone ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is we just got a new phone for the marketing department. And the old phone for the marketing department is basically this one, just has more memory on it. And I was like, well, my phone's kind of like shit the bed. And the marketing department, they're just going to trade this phone in. It's got more memory than mine. The battery's not as trash as mine because it doesn't get used as much. And I was like, hey, Coop, what's the, maybe I'll just keep this one. What's the trade-in value on it? And he was like, $800. I was like, oh, you're telling me this thing's still worth $800?
Yeah.
Like, I will run this thing into the fucking ground until I buy a new phone.
Yeah.
I will get the battery replaced. I'll put a new screen on it. Like, $200 for a new battery? That's fine. I'll pay that one time just so this phone keeps working.
Yeah.
It does slow motion. It does time lapse. It does text messaging.
That is proof that not even Apple can get somebody to come to work.
Yeah.
They don't even want to build a new phone now. They're just like, give us your old one, we'll rebid it.
Yeah.
Throw a battery in that. We good.
$800. In my head, I'm
it's
thinking
so
like,
ridiculous.
I was thinking if it's $300 or less, I'll bite the bullet and do it because I do need a new one.
Yeah.
And I can do that. $300. And he's like, and I was like, ugh. Hey, I'll just send it back. Don't want it. No.
Yeah.
So, like injection technology, like what's cool about what we're doing? Basically, it's instant on, instant off, and as clean on the rate shape as possible. What's rate shape? basically, we put a measurement device. We pressurize the line as the injector is going. We pressurize that line, and it measures what the shape of that pressure looks like in that capturing line. So, a customer a few months ago sends a set of injectors in, and he says, they run. They just don't run amazing. And I'm like, well, what's he mean by that? Well, basically, you all right?
Yeah, I want Corey to pull up the graph so that
Of the
The
rate
picture
shape?
of the graph.
Okay.
from when we visited. So if people are watching on YouTube, they can talk about they can refer to the graph.
That's
you're
the
talking
machine. Oh, look at that guy.
Yeah, keep
What a
going.
meatball.
I don't think I have pictures of the graph.
Would have been as far as chronologically towards the end.
I feel like if we were on another podcast, you'd Google it, you'd find it. All right. So anyway, basically,
We were
picture,
looking at the graph.
picture a rainbow, like the rainbow. We'll just get them a copy of that. Like we'll show them that.
Yeah.
So the rainbow, a rainbow is a very smooth, which would be like kind of an ugly on. You'd get to peak pressure, meaning the middle of that event is like where it's contributing the most. Mm-hmm. You'd shut it off, and then it would be a slow shut off. Well, I basically want I want this to be my rate shape. Like, bam, shut
Flat.
it off, and then it shuts off.
Mm-hmm.
So this machine that we have tells us how many microseconds like activation of solenoid till needle response time is. And then that doesn't tell you what rate shape is. Rate shape is like what's going on in between all of the needle open and the needle closing. What we've done is basically enough experiments to make our rate shape really, really, really good. And that's allowed a lot of tuners, admittedly, a lot of tuners struggled with our stuff because we were always trying to make rate shape super on and super off, but we overshot it. Mm-hmm. So, and I didn't know how, because we didn't have a way to look at it and put a piece of time lapse on it. Now we do. So it's going to make everybody's job a lot easier. With instant on, instant off, if you own a P-pump truck, when you pull the fuel plate out of it, you're basically calling your tuner going, hey, how many microseconds can you fit in there between the piston and the exhaust valve opening? 3,500. I want all of it. Okay, well, piston goes up, piston goes down. As piston's going up, it's making compression. And these are compression ignition motors, right? So as the piston's coming down, we're losing compression. Mm-hmm. So when you pull the fuel plate out of your truck, when you crank up your edge comp box, you're basically just making the injector chatter longer. You're asking for more injector on time. You're hanging the duration open. You're not making more pressure. So a delivery valve in a P-pump, the camshaft in the P-pump, those kinds of things can actually make harder line pressure and hit the nozzle faster, harder. But just pulling the fuel plate out makes them a big smoky mess because you've given it a bunch of injector on time. Does it make power? Yes. Will it make more power if you put one back in it? Absolutely, because if you get the air-fuel ratio correct, it's going to make its optimum power. And if you just drowned it, it's going to make more power than it stock, but it's not going to be optimum by any means. And then you're going to be the kind of guy that cries up going, dude, my oil's always full of fuel. That guy has to be wrong. Like, I'm positive that this shit must come from the O'Reillys with diesel in it because I put it in and one day later it's like full of diesel again. His test is bullshit. No, it's just your truck's all wrong. Hmm. And that's unfortunate because so many people have been led so wrong on the internet. Like, oh, well, I'm
just
doing
take it
this
out.
and it rips.
Yeah.
Just because you're doing it doesn't make it right.
Well, think about how long not only companies like us, but other companies out there have been preaching gears. I knew about gears before I started working here just because lots of hot rod magazines, gas industry, that type of stuff. My dad made sure bike gears, extrapolate that into cars. Mm-hmm. He understood that. I understood that. I got that. Mm-hmm. It blew my mind when I started working here and Tyler was training me that I would talk to people on the phone that were obviously more knowledgeable in diesel, but still, what do you mean you got to re-gear?
That's for $4,000. I can't see it.
Yeah, re-gear, that's for hot rodders.
Yeah.
Do you still get beat by a Camaro?
It's like, dude, you got 342s and you're running 40s, bro.
Yeah. What's the next weak link?
And they're bitching about their transmissions.
Yeah.
And so what I'm getting at there is for how long it took people to start actually grasping gears. Mm-hmm. We are now trying to undo, a decade and a half, essentially, maybe almost 2 decades of
people pulling fuel plates out
of shit immature information out there.
Yeah,
and a lot of it, and you both have both been in the industry longer than I have. You especially,
Grandpa.
Yeah.
You said it, man. I was literally going to say grandpa, tip of my tongue, but you said it, okay?
Yeah.
We're all growing up, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that but the industry, a lot of the folks in there, they're all growing up. Folks that had companies in the beginning that were just like, fuck it, drill them out. A lot of them are growing up now. A lot of the people that just wanted straight pipes, we're all putting mufflers back on.
Yeah.
We're all getting older, okay? But we're all, hopefully, with age comes thought process and also other kind of other shit. And everybody's starting to think about what's going on now. And what you're doing is trying to get the message out there that there's a right way to do it. The only problem is everybody's been doing it wrong for literally 20 freaking years.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's too much bad information that's been preached for too long, and there's too many applications where it's already being used and people don't want to fix it. They want to complain about it, but they don't want to fix it, because then they would have to take all the information they think they know, erase that, and then start over with something new. And that was something that, like myself and the guys at Calibrated never worked together on something. I know my stuff rips. Mm-hmm. I've got more PPL championships. I don't say we, Dynomite Diesel, have more PPL wins this year than any other injector brand company, period, this year.
What's PPL for those that don't know?
Pro Pullers League.
Okay.
Like that's the NFL of sled pulling. So, and that's the most competitive. Like you can pull, you get to the Mississippi and then head east, and you can pull 2-3 times a weekend out there if you just want to drive a little bit. We don't have that here. Yeah. But it's a very competitive industry, and there's a lot of super focused, super competitive folks out there in all those classes. Now, that being said, then you go to drag race, and like we've crushed it in drag racing. We've done a lot of really amazing stuff there too, and we've got a bunch of fast vehicles. Derek Rose hot laps that billet bitch, and it just rips. The thing's the fastest four-wheel drive on the planet, and that's got a set of our 5.9 injectors in it. And for years, people have been telling me, it's not going to work, you can't do it, it's not going to work, you can't do it. But I look at the inside of the injector, and I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure y'all wrong. So then we modified some things. We've made some parts that are select. We've made them. Our company has had them made by people. They work very good. And I'm not saying that in the future we're not going to do some other application injectors, because we will. But the push, the CM849 was the best ECM to tune that runs a 5.9 injector. So I just figured, well, we're just going to run that because it works. It rips. Now, some of the aftermarket guys are getting they're getting square and straight on the tuning for some of the 6.7 ECOs. And now that we've got blanks, we can do things with the 6.7s that we've never been able to do. So in a year, I'm probably going to own a 6.7 at 2,000 horsepower, and I'm going to own a 5.9 at 2,000 horsepower and be like, I don't care which one you want. Like, you can do it with either one. Here you go. But 5 years ago, like, that was just a dream.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And that's I was talking to Ashford today about I was showing him the video of dyno pulls and whatnot, and after explaining kind of what happened and the numbers and whatnot, he's like, wow, this is like everything we've talked about building and actually making happen literally for like 5 years.
Yeah.
What happened yesterday, that's what happened.
Yeah.
And that's the cool part of it, and the part that, like, I went home and I told my wife. And I was like, I know this means nothing to you, okay? I know diesel trucks, like, you love me and I love trucks, therefore you sort of love trucks. But what happened today, like, babe, this is like, I am like cloud nine right now. Like, this is so, not just from what I learned, but what was accomplished today. We had the cake and we ate it too. Fucking did it.
Yeah.
The pipe dream of the trucks that we're talking about when I basically first started working here happened yesterday. It fucking happened yesterday. And like, my pants got tight. And
then she went to bed.
Yesterday was a really great day. Today's a struggle. You and I and the rest of the crew yesterday focused on one throttle position, wide open. Mm-hmm. We got it mastered. Today, all the drivability stuff goes into it, but what's really going to be awesome is working with Calibrated. They sell a lot of tunes. You guys use them. You sell a lot of tunes through them. You guys use us. You sell a lot of our injectors. Soon, with the relationship that we've already established with them as of recently, we're going to be able to, you're going to be able to sell a calibration with a set of injectors. It's going to work. And your consumers, like all of your guys buying, aren't going to be like hearing about this going, man, that sounds cool. That sounds awesome. They're just going to be able to buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's hugely important to me because I want people to enjoy their trucks. I want them to have all the power and be reasonable. Like if you tow a camper and you tow a boat and you do all these things, don't set goals so lofty that nothing between the engine and the rear differential can live. You've got to set a goal. Like my dually at 440 horsepower was frightening with 35,000 pounds on it. You could go as fast as you wanted to go legally or as fast as you wanted to go, period. And it was much faster than you should have gone. Mm-hmm. That was 440 horsepower. And that was an honest, bear in mind with the Eisen, every time you like stand on the gas pedal, it gets down to like 1,800 or whatever, and wide open throttle goes, and grabs the next gear, so you can't really load it down there to see the torque. So I refer to horsepower with that motor because the transmission won't let you get down and dig into the basement, and that's where all the torque's at. So, but that thing was frightening fast. Like it really run good, and that thing never broke anything. It was awesome. I loved it. If you're trying to make 1,000 horsepower truck, like relive your idea in your own head, because it's not going to be that throttle response or that fun on the street. And you know, like I've kind of made jokes about this a couple times today, but unless you're going to call the mayor and be like, yo, bro, here's the deal. I've got 1,000 horsepower daily, so I'm going to need you to send out a VHT team to every intersection in this town. I'm going to start doing some boosted launches. Be ready. Yeah. And if I hit a telephone pole, it's on you because I warned you about it. Like, you've got to make sure my streets are prepped, you know? Yeah. That's not how it's going to work. Like, you're going to go to jail. Like, you're going to go to the hospital, then jail. And then, you know, you're going to get your truck at an impound. It's going to be super expensive, and then you're going to realize it's totaled. So 1,000 horsepower on the streets is not that reasonable, especially if you tow anything. So make goals that are achievable, and I'm sure you'll be very happy because most guys that, you know, call in and go, hey, man, I need to make 700 horsepower, ask them, like, what are you driving right now? What's the fastest thing you've ever driven? Yeah. And they're like, well, it was a Mitsubishi Eclipse.
Well, that's the first thing we ask people, especially if they're looking for anything over 700 horsepower or even 600. I'd say 5. Like, have you ever drove one? Have you ever drove one? Well, no. Why do you think you want that? Well, I saw it on, you know, I saw a truck on a sled pull and he had this much power and it just seemed really cool. Okay.
Yeah, but you know what that dude did? He put that on a trailer and dragged it home.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I was watching YouTube, and there's a whole bunch of people with LS engines making 700, 800, 1,000 horsepower with turbos. I mean, it's just diesel, but it's got turbo, right?
Yeah.
You can do that.
Yeah.
No. I had a 550 horsepower LS 5.3. That thing blew up every time that I got down and partied on it. It's too much information. But since you was... No, I had a 5.3 with a supercharger on it at 10.5 pounds of boost. That thing broke valve springs like they were going out of style. Mm-hmm. Like, it was great as a daily, but as soon as you got angry at it and tried to beat that thing, it submitted and it broke a valve spring. Yeah. Or a rocker arm. So, like, I mean, those guys are like, oh, yeah, these things are awesome. And they are super throttle responsive and they're super snappy. But you take that POS and try and drag 6,000 pounds, the only thing that you're ever going to catch yourself doing, you're never going to have to pull over just to pee because you're always going to be at a gas station.
100%.
All the time.
And you're going to need earplugs because the thing's going to be screaming at 6,000 RPM the whole freaking time.
I drove, so a couple weeks ago I went down to Sand Hollow and I had Rocky and Adrian and Tina and myself. So we're in my pickup with 40-foot gooseneck behind a Ram 2500 stock, like no injectors, no nothing, but it's got 410s on 35s.
Nice. That's a good puller.
Smooth sailing.
Yeah.
68, no big deal, all day long. I've got a Jeep and a Honda Talon on the 40-footer. So that's 8,000 pounds plus 20, maybe 2,200. So there's 10,200-ish. And then I got the Jeep, let's call that 5,000 or 6,000. So 16, 17,000 pounds behind the truck all day. And I'm like, hey, guys, like, you lead because Adrian's got his, like, 2,500. So a 3/4 ton, I'm going to guess it's about a 2020 truck. It's a pretty new Chevy pickup truck. Nice truck. And I'm like, you lead. Like, do your thing and you lead. He's like, all right, cool. So they take off. And every couple hundred miles, we're pulling over and getting fuel. And I got a 50-gallon fuel cell in my truck, so I'm not even thinking about putting fuel in yet. Like, I'm good to go. So pull over. Now you're off the street for 20 minutes. You pull back on, and then boom, you're back down the highway. 200 miles later, you're doing your thing again, right? On the way down, that was the driving arrangement. On the way back, I had to get back a day early Rocky has a Jeep. Adrian has a Jeep. So I said, I'll tell you what, boys. I'm going to leave you my truck and my trailer, and then I'll just take Rocky's little trailer and put my Talon inside of that, and I will then follow you or I'll head down a day early driving the gasser. That was sketchy. It was sketchy to drive. It was sketchy. I mean, like, if you wanted to go the speed limit up those hills and things like that, and that's not a heavy load, you were going to consume fuel. Like, it was I'm going to say it was like 7 probably miles per gallon. And that's a new truck. That wasn't, like in the old day, I had a Ford with a 460. It was a crew cab 8-foot bed. And that thing got 5 or 6 miles a gallon all the time. But that wasn't my credit card. That was the company I worked for, so I didn't really care. Mm-hmm. But today, you ain't going to see me doing that. Not when gas is $4.25 a gallon and diesel is $5.50 a gallon. If I got to pull over twice as often and fill up, I'm definitely going to enjoy my drive, not have to downshift, upshift. I'm not leaving diesel.
And you're not redlining a fucking gas engine the entire time. Not every time you even touch the throttle more than it was before, you're like, is this it?
Yeah.
Is this the end?
Yeah.
Whereas, you get your diesel in there and you just lean on it. Yeah. No. Shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I couldn't even imagine towing I don't have a huge toy hauler. It's not giant. Like, I park my shit in my kitchen. Like, but it's but it's all the weight is it's in the wrong spot. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't imagine towing that thing with anything other than a 3/4 ton truck. Like, this is not going to happen. I would be shitting. I would literally have to have a spare bag in my truck for underwear and pants, probably, and a towel, because I'd be shitting myself every time. Yeah, might as well just wear a diaper. Just it depends. Like, I just throw Depends on.
How long is it going to take to get there? It depends.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'd say yesterday was good. I wish you were there.
Me too, yeah.
And that's something that, like all of my dealer network, like, I want them to come in and experience this, because it's something that, you come into the place, you meet the people. And if you get to know who's doing what, like, you send a set of injectors in for like testing, you're going to know who to call, who to contact, why you're getting an email, like the process of why we're emailing you with pictures and all these things, because you're going to get to see it. If you think it's just, there's so much knowledge to be had there, and it's stuff that, really ever since COVID hit, that's when we really, really got aggressive on inventory and tools. Today, I got a text message. So we've got 2 more test stands coming. With those 2 coming, that will give us a lot more tools than we currently have people. And people at that level of knowledge don't just come and go. Like, that takes a while to get there. But the idea is to basically make sure that our tools are in surplus, so we're not, when we run out of something or if something breaks, we can instantly jump to the next machine and then keep going. So the workload today was our largest day ever in Dynomite Diesel's history of sales.
Wow.
Biggest day ever. Like, I got a text and it's mind blowing. Like, we crushed our biggest day ever.
That's awesome, dude. Congratulations.
Huge. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And, that's been a lot of today's was because we're focusing more on Canada, which we've had just almost zero presence in Canada at this point. Like, Armor Inc.'s been the only people up there really selling our stuff. Mm-hmm. Harry at Peak.
He's been around for so long.
Yeah.
So,
and then, there's just been very, very limited footprint or very, very limited effort from me to get up there and actually like sell parts, but it's a big landmass, a lot of trucks. Mm-hmm. So now we're working with a new company, and I don't really want to I guess I kind of want to let them make their announcement that they're going to be like stocking our stuff. Mm-hmm. But now with them stocking our stuff, like, that puts our footprint out there even bigger to try and sell more parts. And I'm honestly, I don't just want to sell the most parts so I can say I sold the most parts. I want to sell the most parts because I believe that the stuff that we're selling is just better than everybody else's stuff.
Well, and you're fixing the diesel industry one set of injectors at a time.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
If I can get people to quit oil in the coal, then less people will be pissed off at all diesel people.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the goal.
Lenny Reed, 2024.
I honestly feel honored that I honestly feel honored that you're this close to us, and like we're like within a stone's throw of you and shit. Like, it's awesome to have that amount of technology coming out of somewhere that is that close to us, and we can actually go visit, because just seeing your whole the whole process of the nozzle and the EDM, like for the one thing that got me was one of those honing machines that has like that clay looking shit.
That's the old extrude hone. Yeah,
Dude, that shit is wild.
we got 2 of those things.
What is his name?
Adrian.
Adrian showed me that. I was like, are you shitting me? Like that goes through.
Basically silly putty.
It basically is.
Yeah.
And just like people have no idea. And just to be able to see that whole process and everything that you do is awesome. I think it definitely opened my eyes because I believe I made a comment. I was like, the only field shop I've ever been in was at BD's, but it was like, I don't know, 10 years ago. And he's like, well, how's mine compare? And I'm like, they make theirs look like a fucking little espresso stand. Like this is.
Well, I mean, 10 years ago, they were working on like a lot of injection pumps and things like that.
Yeah.
And, they're buying nozzles from other folks and they're bolting nozzles to their bodies and they're repop testing. It's a different level. Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to science the shit out of something that nobody's really
Right.
spent the time doing. And again, like my brain says, like if you make really badass parts, sooner or later somebody's going to buy it and they're going to be like, dude, that's the baddest mofo I ever drove.
Yeah.
And that guy's going to sell parts for you. Others get shit that sells and they keep selling shit. And as long as nobody really complains about it or kicks too much or outruns you or outperforms you, which that's been us. Like we've been the world's worst salespeople just trying to make cool parts.
Yeah.
And that's definitely my fault. And that's like the friends, the clique that I hang out with, we're not like big, like, like, have you seen me? Look at me now. Like, Google me, bitch.
Yeah.
We're not that. We're more like, we're just going to show up, grab some trophies, head home, maybe grab a steak on the way, and put our head on the pillows. Like, that's kind of more my clan. That's just not, it's not everybody's cup of tea. And it's really bad for us because we're not good about trying to show people how we do things.
Yeah.
And, yesterday was a fantastic example because Calibrated is a big company and they do a lot of tuning. Mm-hmm. And they don't like our stuff because they've never actually gotten to work with me and understand, like, this is how the shit's going to work. And then after that, they're just like, they had a meeting and they're talking about it.
I guarantee it. Yeah.
I'm so glad we hooked you guys up.
Yeah. I walked in this morning and I was talking to Tyler. I was like, I guarantee you they're all sitting down right now.
Yeah.
And everybody's just dropping their tongues on the table. And they're trying to comprehend what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, what's the game plan? We now have a lot of new information that we did not know before.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like we have to do something. Like, not just like what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Is everybody else here just as shocked as I am? Like, okay, I'm not the only one. All right.
Yeah. And I didn't mean to talk shit about BD's field shop for just a second. All I was trying to say was that's the difference between someone who
10
specializes in injectors and fuel system parts versus, BD, they've got their hands in a lot of little pots.
Yeah.
They're doing engine brakes, they're doing transmissions, they're doing turbos, they're doing fuel injection,
There's
they're doing
suspension parts.
They're doing suspension parts. They're doing a lot of things, but that's what we love about Dynomite diesels because it is we call it like the boutique gourmet injectors or like that boutique shop
or
of
like
injectors.
a boutique injector shop.
Yeah.
And that's, so BD has a bunch of, I think they've got 2. I think they have 2 Bosch 815s, which is Bosch's flagship bad mofo common rail injector test stand. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But I'm not building stock injectors.
Right.
I'm building shit that I want to build.
Yeah.
I'm building shit that we run, we test, we say, oh, that really should work. And then we go put it in the truck and we run around and we're like, donkey. Or we go, oh, yeah, this thing's going to party.
Yeah.
And then we start working with calibration guys to really make the thing party. And so we are a boutique. We're not ever going to be like our 12 mil pump is made by Fleece. I'm not ashamed of telling people that because our bandwidth in our building is only so much. And if I tried to do CP3 pumps as well as I'm doing injectors, I couldn't do it. We just don't have the manpower, don't have tools, don't have the building space for it. So for Fleece to make their 10 mil pump, and it supports like 750 horsepower, there was a demand at that moment where somebody needed to make something bigger that was still really good. So I'm like, hey guys, just make a 12. I'll test it. I'll do all the cool shit, and then I'll market it. So if you go to Fleece's website, it says Dynomite Diesel 12 mil pump. Mm-hmm. You can buy our pump from them. It's made there. We just buy a bunch of them every month, and then we, structure and they're going through our parts network. So the pump that's actually in that truck right now, it's still a Fleece pump. Like whether it was 10 or 12, it came from them. The 12 was just like, that was my push. I was like, please, let's just do this. Let's do it together. And those pumps rip. They really work good. The failure rate is almost zeros.
That is, sorry, Coach, the Fleece CP3Ks that I was those were probably one of my favorite pumps to sell. And then I started selling the 750s, and
They just work.
that was my favorite thing on the phone with people. They're like, well, how do you feel about it? I gotta tell you what, man, like, I know this pump is actually, it's probably like $200 more than your original plan of spending. I get that, but this pump is going to support you because your horsepower goal is less than this pump can make. You can put it on now, it'll last you forever. And I tell you what, man, I don't get calls back on this. These pumps do not fucking fail.
It's not hard to tune.
Yeah, I love selling these pumps. I sell them like hotcakes because, like you, like, I don't want you to call me back with a failure.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd rather tell you like the real deal about this pump, get you into it, and have you just be freaking ecstatic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to your point, as far as like having Fleece build you a pump, that also speaks to the frame of mind of Dynomite Diesel, like you guys and your team there. It's like, yeah, we know we need a pump, but you also trust Fleece enough to work at your same level. That speaks a lot as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's I don't want to say picking your battles, but it's like being realistic. It's like, do I have the bandwidth to start making my own pumps?
Nope.
No. But if I did make a pump, it'd basically be what Fleece is making right now.
Yeah,
and I trust it.
It'd be a bigger brother to that 10 because we've already told customers just go buy those 10s, buy the 10, buy the 10, buy the 10. Pretty soon people are like, dude, it's just like I already got 2 of those things and I'm making more power than that. Which seems retarded to me that there's that many people that are making in excess of 1,500 horsepower out there. But sure as shit, there is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dudes making a lot of hay out there. Like it mind blows me how many sets of injectors are making that I'm just like, fuck that. I can't. That many race trucks on the road? Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, I still remember the shift as from watching UCC and stuff, and all of a sudden the last couple of years, I say especially the last 2 years, maybe even more than that, but the last 2 years is when I really, really, really noticed. It's like, oh, that truck's got laser injectors in it.
Yeah.
That one's got it. That one's got it. That one's got it too. Wow. Basically the entire top half of the field all has Dynomite injectors in there.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
This last year, I didn't realize how many trucks had our injectors because the truck owners aren't killing parts like they used to, and our injectors are lasting so long that
So you don't
we're
hear
not
from them.
hearing from them.
It's the best worst problem.
So like this year, I'm like, Matt, we got to build a calendar. Matt's our marketing guy, right? I'm like, Matt, we got to build a calendar. It's got 12 months in it. I want 12 badass trucks that that we're proud to say our parts are in. And he comes with this list, and he's like, who do you want to piss off? Like, because you only got 12 months, and there's a lot more than 12 trucks that should get recognition. So who are you going to make mad? I'm like, oh, shit, no calendar for you.
Yeah.
Do you want to do like 4 a month?
Yeah.
Yeah, like quarter. Yeah, like I
that's
kind of
awesome.
respect you, but only a quarter of a page.
Yeah.
I kind of respect you, but a quarter of a page. Yeah. So no, I'm very proud of like the accomplishments we've made, but I'm also very much into what I do. Like I love what I do. My gym is in my injector shop. So basically, like the last few years, I've been living in a camp trailer, building a house, blah blah blah, blah, ordering a dyno, all these cool tools. Today, I got a message from George Babalushka, and he's the guy that I bought my EDM from. George sends me a message today. Lenny, my friend, I just want you to know that I'm going to get the EDM next week that you and I were discussing. So be ready for that. We're going to get it back here and we're going to get it fixed. So he's already put market. There's a massive supply chain issue with everything, right? So I called George. I'm like, I'm going to need the EDM. He's like, that's going to be a problem. I can't even get these parts for ever. He says, but I got one that I'm possibly going to get back. I'm like, okay, well, if you can get it back, then I'll buy it. So he's going to have to retrofit it because an EDM isn't always a nozzle EDM. So this EDM is coming from a company that just really isn't using it. And that doesn't surprise me because an EDM is not that easy to use. Mm-hmm. Like to be really good at an EDM, like Skylar's really good at it. I'm kind of okay at it. And Eric's getting pretty good at it. So, and then we got this little kid, Clayton, like we set it up, let him run it. And if he has an issue, like the way we make him test him, like he'll call me on the phone and be like, all right, it threw a code. I flow checked it. I looked inside of the borescope. Everything looks perfect. Looks like it's working. And then I go through the reset. I think you were in the...
Yeah. When you're talking to
so
him.
You and I, so we went through that with him last time. Like clip the end of the wire off, send it, go for it, got it reset because sometimes that wire just gets kinked or bound or whatever, and it kind of chucks itself out. But he knows what to inspect, and he doesn't have to change anything. We give him batches, so a lot of consumers will call us and they're like, "Hey man, like a shop owner. And they're like, hey, we want to buy direct. And at this point, at this level, if we don't have it on the shelf, I'm really, really ashamed to say this, but I'm not going to stop and build you a set. Because by the time I put the tooling on the machine and feed the wire through the machine and I push go, and then, okay, this nozzle kind of sucks. Like we look at it internal, external, this one's sort of miserable. And then we edit the program for a few minutes and then we waste another 2 or 3 nozzles. Then we're finally making parts. So we just pissed away 30, 40 minutes. We pissed away 2 or 3 nozzles. And now we can make good parts. And it's a CNC thing, so it's going to make good parts for us today. You want to make 60, 80, 120 nozzles of the exact same part number. So if a dude calls me and he's like, I want 1 set. And I'm like, does anybody else on the planet have it? Because if so, you should get that shit now. Because by the time I go to even building an ISB 125, might be a week and it might be 3 weeks. And you ain't getting them until I make them. And I'm not stopping this train so I can make you 6 nozzles. Because to make 6, I'm probably going to ruin 2 to make your 6. Are you willing to pay for all of them and the extra time? We do custom programming for really big stuff, but those dudes are paying $1,000 for a set of nozzles. So I walk in like first thing in the morning and I take care of all the headaches. And I, like Skylar and I'm yelling at him and he's yelling at me. Like basically we're almost, it's awesome to work with him because we get so pissy with each other. And I'm like, I know you're busy, but shit, I need your help. And then we, we're like that picture of the borescope. He's like standing there staring at the borescope right now. And that's me and him. And we're like, well, let's, go positive 2,000 on hole number 1. And, we're going to go negative 1 thou on hole, and then negative a half thou on hole 4. And then we get it edited. And then you're making parts again. So the really big stuff, we can't expect a guy to buy 60 of those, but they pay dearly for it because they're eating a lot of our time. So when I'm finally done doing the headaches, then I set it up for somebody just to run production parts. And those production parts, like once I get that set up, then there's a couple of people in our shop that can like take the part, load the part, watch the part get burnt, blow it out with air, make sure that it's going to flow check correctly. Because if the wire doesn't go all the way through, then the liters per minute isn't going to be where it needs to be. They take that nozzle with that needle valve, they put it in a little stack off to the left, and then we inspect that stuff, like myself or Skylar or Eric will look at that later, and then try and figure out what happened. Nozzles aren't made the exact same. So there is little headaches from time to time, but trying to be very productive with our moments is really where we're at. And having a second EDM is probably a smarter strategy than putting a guy on a second shift. Yeah. Because now I've got to basically be with somebody for 6 months or 8 months to make sure that they can run that thing at night by themselves without getting an hour into their shift and then calling Lenny going, hey, I know that you're probably like at home eating a steak, but you're in bed? Shit, sorry. Anyway, this thing's not going to make parts tonight, so you want me to go home? Because I can't afford to work 2 hours a day. So, you got to spend a lot of time with these employees to make sure that they understand the machines. And we're just not there yet. Like we don't have enough people that understand this stuff to work a night shift, so I'm better off buying another EDM.
Yeah. Well, and then obviously I don't think anybody really wants to work a night shift. You have much happier employees, and happier employees tend to do a better job.
Have you ever met an Uber driver?
Yeah, they're all super stoked.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure they're drinking in between picking up shit.
I don't even care as long as they get me home safe.
Yeah.
Well, Lenny, this has been a fantastic.
Yeah, when's the housewarming party at your house? I'll bring the fifth wheel. We'll do some side-by-side riding. What do you want to do? When is that?
Paving.
We gotta bring this motherfucker out and
yeah.
Paving starts paving's on Monday. So my C of O, my certificate of occupancy, I should probably have hopefully within the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. We're getting really close. So that place was built with one thing in mind, like relationships with friends, relationships with people in this industry. And ultimately, like a lot of us are getting to the point where we can all jump in a side-by-side.
Yeah.
But we're not going to jump on a CR250 anymore.
Right.
A lot of us are getting to the point where we can jump on a side-by-side, put tracks on it, and then rip up the mountain.
Yeah.
But they're not going to jump on a snow machine. They're not going to jump on a snow
hell
bike.
no. I won't.
So I built the house where I built the house because a lot of us, they want to go see the shop. They want to see what's up. But then they also want to recreate and have a good time because most of this industry, the really bad mofos in this industry have put so much time and effort into it, and they're so passionate about it, but they deserve time to do something fun.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So the house is, kind of an always welcome invitation for anybody that I respect in this industry that's really hustled and worked and wants to learn something about the product. Like, that always helps sell parts, but I built that house to make some memories in, and that's what I intend on doing. Like, we're working out there daily. I've got the nicest dyno probably in the USA with the nicest airflow AFR meter in the USA in my backyard. And when I say that out loud, I'm like, that's retarded.
Dude, your house, seriously, when I drove by it and I was driving and I'm literally looking, I'm like swerving off the road because I'm like, that's like the ultimate freaking house. Like, that is holy shit.
But think about, like, because it's all brown, so it all kind of looks like my house or whatever. But if the garage was, say, black or white and the house was the opposite color,
yeah,
you'd be like, that house is stupid compared to that garage.
Yeah.
The garage is really big, and the house is just,
I was gonna say, that's a man's house right there.
Yeah,
That's a man's house, baby.
Today, Helga shows up from the county assessor's office, and she walks in. She's like, every man I know would love to live here.
Yeah. Didn't someone tell you your garage was too big?
The bank. Yeah. Like, every banker, like, I even called Brian's banker. I'm like, hey, I know Brian Howell. And she was like, I don't care. That's a dumb idea. Like, why do you need a garage that big? And here's what I told her. I'm like, because I'm a mathematical guy. I'm 5'9" on a tall day. And I'm 265. So I'm going to say that, like, most human beings are definitely sub 400 pounds. But most human beings, males anyway, are like right in the 200 to 250-ish, right? Mathematically, that's pretty fair, right?
That's
Yeah.
fair.
Okay, so I go to the bank, and I'm like, I need to borrow money to build me a house. Okay, sounds good. You got a good credit score. Let's get you to fill this stuff out. And I show them my blueprints, and they're like, oh, no. Why is that? Well, because your ratio of garage space to home space is exactly a 180 off. All right, so now I'm on the phone. I'm like, oh, hey, how much do you weigh? Well, excuse me? How much do you weigh? I mean, you're a woman, so I'm going to guess it's sub 200 pounds, but, if it's a dude, you're right around 200, 250 maybe, right? Well, yeah. Do you have a car? Well, of course I do. All right. How much your car weigh? I'd be damn impressed if it's less than 4,000 pounds. Yeah. So why the hell should my car live in a smaller home than my body, which is obviously 20 times smaller?
Yeah.
And I've got several cars, so I don't know why I need a small garage.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, the thing is when, and you're going to renege on this loan because you're obviously you're a wingnut. And I'm like, what? And they're like, if you renege on this loan, trying to sell your home is going to be very difficult.
Bullshit.
That's what I said.
Bullshit.
Have you been to North Idaho?
Dude, I got people driving by videotaping, like as they're driving by. I got people pulling up my driveway like, hey, man, can I just look in here? I'm like, sure. Like, you packing? Yes. Then yes, you can.
Yeah.
Like, I don't worry about gun packers. They're probably honest. Like, they're just trying to protect their stuff. They're not thieves.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it's been a really cool experience to build that thing. And, I did do a lot of thermal stuff. I kind of nerded out. Like, the thing about like living in a camp trailer in North Idaho during 2 winters is you freeze your ass off.
Real quick.
So when I'm in the camp trailer freezing to death and my dog's like, I'm like, I'm never going to freeze again. I promise. I'm never going to freeze again. I will never freeze again. So I sat there and I YouTubed the shit out of every insulation. And there's a lot of cool stuff in Europe that we don't have here. But I promise I'm never going to freeze in that house.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Old Helga come in and she's like, hey, so I got a Subaru and I got it all. And I'm like, okay, this girl's like obviously kind of outdoorsy. And she's like, I do all my own craftsmanship. And I'm like, okay, well, I got radiant floor heat out in the garage. She's like, really? Show me. So she's like, did you do that and everything? I'm like, yeah. She's like, that's mind blowing. I love it. I can't wait. That's so cool because my friend is working on this like concrete with insulation board and insulation board. I'm like, SIPs, structural integrated panels. She's like, okay. They're supposed to be awesome. They're testing them in Spokane right now. I'm like, hell yeah. Like, let's bring this technology. It's going to be great. If y'all are going to need 40 amps to charge your Tesla, we're going to have to save on lights and heat.
Yeah, no shit. No, it's awesome, man. I can't wait to see the finished product of your
Yeah.
of that place. That's going to be badass, man. Jelly.
You guys kicking me out?
Just about.
Yes.
This has been a fantastic episode.
Yeah.
I hope everybody learned something, and or not, or just enjoyed listening to it, because Lenny's honestly a genuinely nice and fun human to be around. So it's always a pleasure. Lenny, how can people get a hold of Dynomite?
DynamiteDiesel.com. You can, I would say text, but that'd be horrible. I would say any sort of email. So manager@dynamitediesel.com. It's okay because it's mine, but there's 23,000 unread emails in there. So sales@dynamitediesel.com is going to get checked instantly. That's Chris or Tim. Mike Looper answers the phone. Get a little gal named Chevy answers the phone. 208-209-3214. Yeah. You know how many times I've actually given my cell phone number accidentally?
Oh, shit.
And they
Yeah,
call
don't
me, I'm
get
like,
it out
yeah.
here.
And they're like, yeah, I'm looking for Dynamite Diesel. I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
I know their number. So dynamitediesel.com, sales@dynamitediesel, sales@dynamitediesel.com, and then 208-209-3214. And by all means, if you ever need any parts, feel free to contact these guys because they do sling a lot of our stuff and they're very close, so they can get it very, very quickly if they don't already have it on the shelf.
Yeah. And damn near everybody here pretty much has the phone number of somebody there. So yeah, the communication between the two of us is
It's tight.
very tight,
Yep.
very, very, very tight. Toy like a toiker. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap this one up. Lenny, I greatly appreciate you being on again. We, like always, by the time we finish a podcast episode, I can already think of like 10 other things I want to talk about in the next one. So
Yeah, well, Lenny, you're welcome back anytime. Anytime.
yeah.
Let's do it in like 10 minutes.
All right. We'll do another one.
Just do the whole night.
Yeah.
Can't wait. It's going to be great.
Wife's in Colorado. I'm free the whole night.
I'm hungry. Let's do it at the restaurant.
Yeah, all right.
Like 2 whiskeys and 1 steak and a big pile of broccoli. Let's do this.
Yeah,
Boom.
Bring the little microphones.
There we go. Yeah.
Wow.
Just, hey, sweetie, can you bring me a Diablo sandwich and bring it up?
Yeah.
I'm in a hurry.
Fry sauce. That's going to wrap this one up, ladies and gentlemen. We really appreciate all you guys tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe and check us out at dieselpowerproducts.com.